Order. Dr. Thompson, can you call the roll?
Here's the pencil.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Here.
Mrs. Grassi,
Here.
Mr. Audino,
Here.
Miss Brewster,
Here.
Mr. Byers.
Here.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge, please. On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'd like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public comment during the meeting in the public participation section on the agenda. Make a motion to approve minutes for December 10th and December 18th. Can I get a second?
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Thompson, can you call the roll?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask real quick, just for clarification. Did you have to be in attendance at those two meetings, or, and it also pertains to the next 7 minutes to be able to vote? I don't know.
If you
No,
want-
if you weren't at the meeting, then you abstain. If you weren't present at the meeting, right?
That's, I knew.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So just abstain if
Okay.
there's a meeting that you haven't been in.
Okay, and-
So are they grouped together? Were you at both?
I was at these two,
Okay.
because they were in December.
Well, then that I think, that's all we're voting on right now.
Yeah, we're just voting
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
December.
so you're good.
And then you're taking care of China.
Yes, I will take care of that.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please?
Miss Grassi,
Aye.
Miss Brewster,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Abstain?
Yes, of course. And Mr. Audino.
Abstain?
Motion carries 3-0 with 2 abstentions.
Next, make a motion to approve meeting minutes from December 15th, 2025. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, can you call the roll?
Mr. Audino,
Abstain?
Mr. Byers,
Abstain?
Mrs. Krasinski,
Abstain.
Mrs. Grassi.
Abstain.
While the pressure's on. Miss Brewster.
Aye. Because I was.
Motion carries 1-0. Look at you.
All right. We have a motion to approve meeting minutes from January 2nd, tax budget hearing, January 2nd, organizational meeting, January 2nd, special meeting, and January 6th, special meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, can you call the roll, please?
Miss Brewster,
Abstain.
Mrs. Grassi,
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Byers,
Aye.
and Mr. Audino.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to our special reports tonight.
So we have a lot of special reports, and one that's we're going to take the tour on the road. So we're going to do a tour of the new addition in Riverview. So everyone who likes to join us, we'll go up and look at the 8 new classrooms that were done and answer any questions that you have. We have both Ryan and Roger here to kind of help us with that as well. So at that point, we'll get up and
Way.
head out and see the new spaces.
Hi.
We need you for support.
I suck.
So this is.
I get pissed.
You're on camera right now.
This is it.
All right, so welcome. This is the beginning or the opening from our kindergarten hallway to the new 8 classroom addition. Down here we have 4. Next year, these 4 classrooms will be utilized for pre-K all the way, but they do offer some flexibility for all of our primary classrooms. We tried to match the building as much as possible using some current attic stock as well as some other choices to really make it blend in and look like one, both inside and outside. Ryan, you did a great job with that. It looks pretty seamless. Dr. Thompson didn't even know where it started.
It looks great. You can't tell.
These doors are on magnetic release. When we do have a fire drill, they will release and close shut to kind of cut the building off. But come on in, and you can see the color scheme. This exit is new as egress. This used to go out, and you would see horses right here. So we kind of cut that down. Did some creative engineering to get this to shift this stairwell, which put the door on the end there to provide egress for our students. We do need to get taxers.
Take Nazi. Very anti-tape.
So there are 4 classrooms here. 2 on. They are a little bit different in the way that they are set up. The 2 on my right, your left, are more of your traditional kindergarten classrooms. We'll walk into one. They have a single-user restroom in there, and kind of the same spaces set up. The biggest, one of the main differences from these classrooms than the original classrooms will be the AV setup. We put touch screens in this for modern technology versus the old smart boards or Vimeo boards that were in the old one. So we'll go in and take a look at this classroom here.
Switched it over. Yeah, that's great.
It smells new, that's for sure.
New classroom smell.
It does. It has that new classroom smell to it.
Yeah.
This will last a little bit longer than in like a middle school where that classroom smell goes away quickly, especially on a hot day. This is our kindergarten rooms are generally larger in space because they do more kind of different activities. This again, we will house preschool in this next year, but they have their own attached restroom. The lighting in here is all LED lighting, and there are ways to change it. The switches are very complex. You do need an engineering degree to figure out the light switches as they work, but they do dim the lights, offer different lighting patterns for kids as they need them. And again, basically has your smart board. They do have speakers and amplification system, so all of our kids can hear and the voice kind of travels throughout. It's not just for the teacher. It actually works with students with like attention deficit, attention disabilities. Helps them really kind of focus a little bit more. So both these rooms look the same, this one and the one that's partnered to it on the other side. We'll go across the hall and look at kind of the other 2 rooms, which are a little bit different and purposely designed. So again, different size preschool room, a little bit of a different space.
Yeah, I like how this is tile, so that, you know, the boots and all that stuff.
I like the entire length.
Ended up really good.
So really close to the same square footage in this room, same basic conceptual layout, little bit of some key differences to it. In this case, instead of an individual bathroom, it has a Jack and Jill bathroom on this side where they can still access and have their own private bathroom, but it does allow us to put a changing table if we have students who need that as those needs evolve, and also kind of utilize the space in some different ways. The other thing that preschool comes with is a lot of stuff and storage. So we need to provide storage and also access to a playground. So right through here, you'll find shared preschool storage as well as a door out to a dedicated preschool playground, which has been put in, although it's dark out right now. There's a preschool playground set up. They're going to finalize that once the weather breaks with mulch on the surface as well as making sure everything's expanded. So this is one of the 2 dedicated. We really thought purposely about preschool and always keeping preschool here. Yeah, that's part of it as well.
Somebody should want to come to school, you know, or teach. Yeah, that's a bridge too far.
You want to come back?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you. His kids and my father and grandfather. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Lighting's nice. These are,
Yeah, she is there.
We all noticed that first. It's a really big.
oh, that is nice. Did you notice that?
That's what she didn't know. Well, my wife told me.
Look at that. That is pretty slick.
She said all the old rooms, they're all outside and they're all destroyed.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
So, one of the things that Ryan Schmidt from TDA was able to do is pick us up some space along the way. With preschool, you have some auxiliary staff, like a school psychologist that kind of needs to be there. We want them in the same spot. So, office built right into here, access to kind of work with the kids, keep them all in an area, in a similar area, almost contained. In here, we did have a mishap in some of our ordering. We're going to go ahead and fix that eventually. There is a really large TV in there. That will get toned down. We're going to repurpose that TV in one of our other classrooms that has an AV need, but we just haven't taken it off the wall yet. But that's kind of this space down here. We'll walk through. They have their own dedicated entrance. So one of the things we're really excited about with pre-K is its own dedicated entrance and office, which is through here. Oh, just kidding.
Okay, so that's a different office.
That's the psych center. Yeah, these will not. This is a mess. So this is kind of, yeah, this is a choke.
Because usually these are not warm.
Yeah, the heat really works here.
Yeah.
So this is our preschool entrance. When preschoolers come in and out, they will be separate from our K-5 students who enter. They kind of enter the parking lot, the new parking lot, expanded spaces over there. They'll come in through this door during the day. We'll have a receptionist sit here who can buzz parents in and take things. This is a secure vestibule that will lock, and it will lock off and kind of choke as a choke point of security. Preschool director will kind of sit in the back office that's back there as well. So we have an office for a secretarial staff, and then a preschool director back behind there as well, and a pass-through. Not necessarily a window to take their lunch, but a pass-through to take forms and things like that to kind of work through that. So that is this area, and now we're going to go upstairs and look at the occupied rooms that we actually put classes in.
So this is the parking's to the right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the pad and then the parking. Okay, and then this little room is to be TV. Oh, is that like a tutor room? Yeah. Okay. And then
Lizzie? Don't go up those stairs.
so much stuff.
Mike should. He'll fake an injury and be out for the next 8 weeks.
Don't earn that Achilles.
Will you stop filming me? I don't want to, I decline to be filmed. Don't you have the right? Are you looking at me?
Yeah,
This is great. So up here, when Mrs. Chantry is working with her staff to kind of work on where placement goes and what students go where, our third grade teachers kind of stepped up and said, we want this to be our area. And they wanted it to be there, not because the classrooms were new. I mean, all the classrooms were relatively new. It's because of the way they're set up specifically. Our third grade teachers, all four of them, team teach. When we walk in the classrooms, what you'll see is a large double door that is open. Students go back and forth between those two classrooms all the time. They're not assigned to one classroom and sit there, and they work on small group. They work on truly differentiation, and the data, we just went over the data today, and the gains they're making is amazing. So this is kind of the model that we want to ship for all of our classrooms. But come on into Mrs. Ford's classroom.
Oh, you know that. Yeah, they're inside the glass.
Yeah, that's great.
They'll last forever and they stay clean.
Yeah.
So in this classroom, we have students move freely. You can see they move freely through the double doors into Mrs. Fox's classroom. Now, ironically, Mrs. Fox moved and then went out on maternity leave, so Mrs. Fox's replacement is there for now. But really to look at the spaces and the seating, this is the furniture that they took from their original classroom. So the new furniture that we ordered is not in yet. When it comes in, it will have a similar feel. A lot of small groups, a lot of flexibility. Students get up and move around and say, hey, I want to be in this classroom for this part. They get individualized assignments and really do personalized learning, working in small groups, working at the kidney table, learning a lesson. There's not a lot of stand at the front of the room, stage on the stage direction. It is all small group, tailored to their needs based on data and what they need. And then you can see they just transfer over into the other classroom, which is right next door. And the lights are off. So same basic feel in this classroom, just another teacher, they bounce back and forth. They do math this way, and then math and science, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Yes. So they'll do the math block and science block here, then all those students go across the hall, and they'll do the language arts block and the social studies block, kind of all together and collaboratively. It has worked out phenomenally. Like I said, the data is through the roof just on this year, and we are really excited to kind of see and have the space where we can kind of move this through. So the last part, there's a couple more small group rooms at the end, and that's the end.
Looks great.
Are you teachers?
We wrap up our tour with 2 upstairs small group rooms that we will utilize anytime there's space. We're going to utilize those for some of our small group instruction, whether it's ELL, special ed, any kind of thing differentiated that we need to do. We have these opportunities in these spaces. For that, it can even be a reset room. So kind of moving them along and utilizing these spaces. They are not utilized yet, but give it another week and they will be full. I will tell you that for sure. And then mechanical room is kind of hidden at the front of the place, and a single-use restroom off to the right here. And that concludes the tour. So thank you. We'll head back down and continue on.
Looks great. That's mechanical. Oh, wow.
There's a group restroom.
That you'll see up here, so they would
Yeah,
usually often wear their work,
Be
but
pleased with that room.
There's 2.
And then these go down.
These go, we can take these down.
This is part of
This is the original.
Or the original.
Yep. And this is the original, and then the works there.
Okay.
And we're- You all back?
Yes.
All right. So after seeing Riverview, I think next is to talk about Buckeye and the Buckeye project and kind of continue with that. I do have 3 people here to kind of present and talk with the board and answer any questions. The first is Ryan Schmidt from TDA to kind of talk about some options with Buckeye and a 12 classroom addition and gymnasium and kind of some possibilities looking through that as well. So those slides are actually the 1-page addendum to your packet.
Or should I say? There's a podium right there.
Yeah.
This one? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you all for having me. As everybody I'm sure is aware, we have gotten pretty far on our original concept design for Buckeye. The original concept was 8 classrooms in a gymnasium, and we were approached to look at this site and see what it might mean if we went to 12 classrooms. So what we did here was we looked at the existing site and we did a couple of fit plans. I want everybody to take the plans with a grain of salt. In the sense that they are looking at size and space. They are not designs necessarily, so there's nuance. As you lay out a plan, you look at sidewalk placement and door locations and entrances and proximities and adjacencies of all these spaces and make sure everything flows and works properly. These have got some of that figured out, but they're not finished plans. We just wanted to make sure that something would fit on the site. So what you're seeing here was the existing plan. The building up at the front here, there are those couple of, is it okay if I stand up here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think the pointer works here.
This is even better for me. These are some modulars that you had located over in this area. These are gone. And then there's playground out in this area and a grassy field to the north here. Your existing parking lot in through here. So this is concept 1. This is saying if we stick with a single story plan, what might that mean on the site? And so this one took the approach, we're adding 12 classrooms, we're adding an entranceway, and then we group specials up at the north end of the east wing. So this would be your existing art, music, library spaces, a new gymnasium space with a stage that connects to this big hallway that takes you out to the front of the building. There's also a connector that can get you here. Nuance would be looking at, is there a way to get another connection point somewhere closer down in that area, or is there a nice way that we can get people around the end of the building at that location? But what this is saying is you could get something here in this location that leaves pretty ample space to the north to get some playgrounds, field area, and then we could get really creative in how you use this interstitial space and create some outdoor learning areas, maybe some smaller play spaces or some outdoor active spaces for like outdoor gym and stuff of that nature. So, and what I wanted to do is talk about massing too. So this was a single story building. This is not designed, but this is saying you would have something comparable in structure and height and size to what you have existing in this location here. The gymnasium would be a taller structure to the back with a lower connector piece that connects and ties in. Ultimately, you'd look at materials that are similar in nature. You might try to modernize some of those pieces. We went through a lot of that discussion when we were doing the initial studies of the original concept. So I think a lot of that would be something you could salvage and work into a new plan if you choose to do that. This concept would be a 2-story addition. This one looks at keeping gymnasium stage up at this location with an entrance piece, mechanicals, restrooms, lobby area, and then a 2-story classroom addition, and then connection back to the existing building. This one does have a pass-through with stair here, stair at this location as well, and then this obviously all stays the same. And then what you're seeing here is essentially you'd end up with 6 classrooms on the first floor, 6 classrooms on the second floor, a bank of restrooms on both floors, entrance down at this location, the taller space is the gymnasium and stage down at that end, but then these would be your primary circulation paths in the building at that location. All of this considered as you're going through an exercise like this, you look at the building, this is one step to say, does it fit? Yeah, you can fit a couple of different options here. The other thing to start talking about considering is all the support spaces. So parking lots, access ways for drives. Do you look at this and try to make this a bit more efficient? Because presently it isn't terribly efficient with how some of this flow works up at the front of the site. There's a lot of kind of dead space here. Could you make this work a little more effectively to separate bus and parent traffic as well? So, and that's it. Any questions, comments?
Can you go back to that one, the one previous slide? Is the back of this, as it's currently constructed, the back of that new parking lot, would that be large enough, wide enough that you could stack parents up all down the side and loop and come back out?
That is the right type of question. If designed properly, yes. So that'd be something like, for example, one thing you're always trying to do is separate buses and parent traffic. So if you look at this as the parent traffic, that is something where you can pull parents in. You create this really long depth for your drop-offs. So let's say your primary parent drop-off actually moves back to here. You have all this distance to stack cars, whereas currently now, you got people that are stacking out onto the road. This would help minimize some of that. That's not to say it would totally ever get rid of everything, because there's a lot of people that drop off their students, but this would definitely be something that would help. And by picking up that depth, that would definitely help.
Coincidentally, that was taken during pickup. This picture. The cars.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you can see right now, you're picking up an extra 100 feet there, plus that on the back way out. So it does help. Good point, thank you.
Yeah. This plan also allows better access to the gym, because there is after-school and evening community use.
Yep.
And, I know Nick often is aware of some of the students and groups that use our schools. Whereas the other plan has it way over on the other side, no way to get over there except to walk through the building.
There are challenges.
Yeah.
You have an existing building.
Yeah.
So anything you do, you're working with
Right.
some of what's presently there, and you're trying to make the best use of what you have. So this is one where you already have established specials, and in my best world, I group all my specials, if I can do it. And so that plan was looking at, what does that mean if we can do it? The challenge, to your point, is it does push the gymnasium back. And is the trade-off worth it? And that's something that's worth considering.
Right.
There might be some other hidden piece to this as we actually work on a design that points to a really favorable solution where you could keep it back there, but we just haven't gotten there yet.
Right, and with the two-story, it kind of compacts it, but it also minimizes the playground noise or kids seeing the activity, because some of them are on the second floor. But it also opens up the playground, because I know there's some wetland, and whether you call it wetland or it's just wet back there.
Yeah, back in the tree area.
How
Yeah.
big is that
Especially in the-
retention pond? Are we okay?
So
How much of that green space is playable green space?
So as of now, I haven't determined that. So if we chose, the previous design had the detention basin back in the trees. So it is something that you could, there's enough space there you could conceivably pull that back up into the green area and not have to cut back into the trees. But you could put it out of sight, out of mind, back in the trees. It's just, there's cost associated with both, and that could be something that we talk through. Again, the pros of getting it out of sight, out of mind, the cons of cutting down trees and pushing it back further. So there's give and take. But that space that's there, that green space, that's a large area. I mean, that's football field size, maybe a little bigger than that. So it's a big space.
What are the pros and cons to stacking versus not stacking?
So, great question again. Pros are less roof, less footings, like some of your vertical aspects of your siding and things like that. You have fewer breaks. Like, for example, if you have a lot of roofing perimeter along the building and it's long, then you have all that edge metal and all that stuff to consider. When you stack, though, you do have to put in stairs and you do have to put in an elevator. So there is that give and take elevator. There's yearly expenses that go along with that. But again, the benefit, you have a compact floor plan as well. So it is about measuring those two. This is about the threshold. If we had fewer classrooms than this, I think it gets to a point where stacking it makes less sense. That 8 classroom, that's where we're looking at single story, because it's just, the efficiency isn't quite there. This is getting to that point where you can start to look at that and it starts to justify the expense of the elevator and the stairs, especially when you're trying to maintain some more of that site.
And there's no way to turn like the classroom like the other direction, so they almost connect to the other specials?
So there are other site concerns. There is an existing storm sewer that runs through the center of the site, so we
Okay.
are trying to avoid that as much as possible. That isn't to say that we couldn't do something across. We just have to be conscious of, you're not going to want to build a big building on it, but maybe a connector is something that's viable. In that previous plan that we had, there was a connector here. And there was actually talk about with the county about putting a storm sewer underneath that connector because your exposure is 10 feet of width with a sleeved storm sewer as opposed to 60 feet, 80 feet underneath the gymnasium where if you ever have a problem, it's a bigger concern. So, and the reality is you put a sleeved pipe underneath the building, the odds of the problem happening are very small, but you just don't want to take a risk there if you can avoid it.
And I know you talked in the past about the irregularity of the library structure, so, you know, if adding onto that side means taking away some, right?
There is a challenge with that. I mean, in the plan I was looking at, could you go back to maybe the first plan? Maybe it shows on there. Yeah, this is good enough. This one I was looking at, if we do this is a big room right now. The idea that you want to take and add a wall inside of that media center space, that library space, to make your connection back. So there would be some manipulation because the shape was designed to be that. It wasn't designed to be added on to necessarily. So whenever you do an addition to that, then you do have to kind of square things up and make them work with what you're doing with the plan. It's got kind of a bow on the end, and so we were trying to simplify that mass and kind of engage it and minimize, again, by engaging it and kind of fitting into this notch, we're trying to pull that building back and keep it as tight to the existing building as possible to, again, save as much green space as we can.
In this example, this would have a new set of bathrooms on the single-story side, and then a new set in the gym.
Yeah, and that's right now generically showing we do have a bank of bathrooms down here. This was showing larger classrooms here with bathrooms inside of those. This likely might want to flip, you know, or maybe we shift this down here. So there's stuff like that we'd have to consider because these bathrooms really would be used by these students. These students don't really need it, so just placing in the classroom should be considered. But yes, I would put a bank of restrooms over here somewhere. That one, I am showing some restrooms up in that corner, but that's something, depending on how we use that, there is a bank of toilets there. So you could conceivably make use of those with the gymnasium because it's already a supporting space. So you have existing toilets you could potentially utilize for that.
But in the stacked scenario, there would be bathrooms on both floors.
Both floors,
And
yeah.
potentially in the gym.
No, that one, we can go back to that plan. This one stacks the toilets here. So you have classrooms, toilets on both floors. And so it's utilized by both groups.
You would have access for night access, it would be coming to the one side, and then there would be the double door, I'm assuming there'd be double doors to kind of close off.
Yeah, yep,
after each
yep.
classroom, so.
Yeah, that's one, to your point, you'd want to be able to section off the stairs, section off the bathrooms, so that you can utilize that after.
How much additional parking is that approximately?
I think it was about 40 spaces, 50 spaces, something like that. I might be a
Even
little
with a
off.
turn?
The turn isn't figured into this necessarily, so I mean, realistically, you probably want to turn here. We had looked at a scenario where we did have our detention basin at the end. The nice thing about that is as you're pushing snow, you can just push it down towards the detention basin. Like that's what we did here, and that allows it to melt and go into the detention basin. Yeah.
But you'd capture all those spaces back where the turn currently is.
You would
So
pick up
those would
spaces
become
then,
parking
for sure.
spaces, so we would get probably most of them back. I'm
Very,
sure.
very good point. Yeah, you'd slide that.
With this plan as it is, you'd still have some play apparatus, it looks like, in the interior there. But at the end of the art, music, library area, you know, I mean, some things could be relocated over there and not up against classroom windows.
For sure.
But I know that where the gym is, I think it's, with compacting it like this, there is a basketball court that has to be replaced. There's also a ball field not too far, I think, from the art, music, library. So, and then kids like to play soccer and there needs to be space. So I'm just thinking of a school building like this. Didn't we fashion the gym to be very similar, or the gymnasium to be very similar?
Yes. Yep,
to
and the
what
stage
we have
space.
here.
Yep, correct, exactly.
Yeah,
The stage
with the
space is very
stage.
similar, and the gym size and everything is very similar to what's at this current building.
Okay.
But to your points, I mean, having some hard surface down there makes sense, and that might be something that as we look at the turnaround, like most of the day, you don't need the turnaround. You know, people are coming onto the site, they're parked, visitors are coming up here, so you could conceivably, we do it all the time where you could conceivably shut down part of that and utilize that asphalt as part of your play surface and part of your playgrounds that, you'd essentially have, you know, a choke point here with a gate, and you could section off a part of it that you could utilize, so you're not buying additional asphalt and spending money on that and the upkeep and all the things that go along with that. So there's efficiencies we could put into some of your site surfaces.
Does the dining as it is, obviously it's in the old section, will that be supported? Is it large enough to support the additional classrooms? I
Yeah,
guess?
it should be, because now there's stage here, and so you could conceivably pick up that space. We could utilize that stage space as a supplementary classroom, like a STEM classroom or something like that. I think could be really beautiful up in that location. But this space does act as a gym right now. So it's doing double duty for what it does, and so by taking the gym component out of it, just your flow and the ability to serve students just improves.
You could have more cafeteria sessions if you needed to, since you're not using
Easily.
it for gym
Yes,
space.
you'd have more lunches.
And it saves,
Yeah.
it saves staff time too, because
Yeah.
you're not doing setup, take
Yeah, not tearing down.
Now, what do you envision in the front there? Because I know there's a lot of grass and,
I'll be 100% honest with you, I don't know yet.
oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
one
because
where
that's a problem.
I think you'd want probably a more condensed visitor parking lot. I think you'd want to look at how you can make the loop more efficient. All of this space in here is just Mo space. So if it's something that we can get maybe a little more compact and get some more access up here, your main office is right here. So you want to be able to draw people to that space. Staff and everybody can park along here, but if you're able to support some of those visitors and things like that up front, and then get your buses in there effectively, that's the biggest thing, is making sure we get all our buses in our queuing. And then not overspend on asphalt, where you have a bunch of extra asphalt that you have to pay for the next 50 years every time it needs to be resurfaced.
Yeah, and with the number of drop-offs and not having backup on the street, I don't know if there would be some function about dropping off some students, like, I guess you wouldn't be doing it with buses, because that would be in the front, but cars.
Right.
Whether there's another access point, I don't
And
know.
and that's staffing, and generally you want to drop off 2 big spaces. And you do have a big space up here in dining, and you would have a big space back here in the gym. And so you have the ability to utilize those as queuing spaces, staging spaces for those students.
Yes, because currently the students stand outside.
Yeah, and
And
this
they're picked up.
would help minimize that. You could release by bus or however you want to do it, which I think it would be a really nice ability to do, because then on days like today where it's, well, not today, but tomorrow, you know, it's going to be 8
Tomorrow
degrees.
afternoon.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Thanks for
I don't want school off.
So the additional budget that we're adding would also take care of the existing building as far as,
So I have not gotten into
upgrades.
the details of the
Yeah,
budget.
okay.
I think just broad picture, yes, that is the plan.
Roger ran some numbers, he's up next.
Yep.
To kind
oh,
of have
okay,
some discussion.
okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
You had a question before?
I was just gonna say, not to get too far ahead into the future, but the stack allows for the space the gymnasium was gonna be in to potentially be used in the future if needed to add classrooms
Yes.
down the road.
Yes, correct.
So that's kind of a nice.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one to, like, in either of these iterations, as we go through the design process and talk about, you know, how manipulating the plan would work, that's something we could pick up additional space and talk about flex and talk about additions down the road. Because it's something that you may never do it,
Yeah.
but you don't want to put yourself in a spot you can't do it. And so it's always good to have options.
And for the neighbors, if there is a 2-story addition, which is a lot higher, even though the gym would be higher too, just some kind of privacy, I mean, it would be worked in that they would have a tree line or evergreen or something.
And we could look at what that means. It's also something too where we've gotten really good and knowledgeable as to how to use masonry, you know, in a scenario like this. This building is kind of away from things. You know, this is kind of sitting on its own thing. There's horse farm to the sides. It's floating. It's what it is. This one, we might look at a lighter colored masonry up above, for example. That's a trick we use all the time. It helps minimize the weight of a building on a site, and it makes it less, less of an eye draw, as you live next to it. So those are tricks that help make it less impactful to the neighborhood. So think of, what is it? The big Nestle building down in Solon. The whole thing's painted white or gray or something, and when you drive by, you see it. But if it was red, you'd really see it. So those kinds of tactics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, next up, Roger Ratcher from RFC Contract or Construction, just to kind of give an update. First, we'll talk about Buckeye and some of his, he's been working through some numbers with Buckeye, and then he also has some updates on CTE and Riverview for the board. And we'll answer any
Good evening.
questions.
Let's start with CTE.
Okay.
Let's start with
All right,
the
let's
good
start
news
easy.
instead of spending the money.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of closing out the contracts and summarizing the GMPs. And the good news is between the two projects, you're going to be getting some money back from the GMP to the tune of somewhere between 400,000 plus, maybe even close to 500,000. I'm working on those closeouts. We're working on finalizing the list of allowances, contingencies. We didn't have to use most of it, and we also, some of the allowances that were put in there towards the end of the job, we ended up not doing some of that work. Now that, part of that though, we still have not addressed some of the air conditioning in the common areas. I think you guys called Chris or.
Commons and the high school
commons.
cafeteria.
So some of that would probably end up going there if you decide to move forward with those projects. So we're still working on, we'll be working with Chris on some of those numbers. But you'll have some money left over that you can transfer into something else or use it for whatever other alternates we had talked about at the high school.
You're talking about the PI, those funds were from the PI and not from the grant, correct?
Correct.
Correct. But we're looking at it as an overall number from our perspective, left pocket, right pocket for you guys. I'll let you.
I just want to make sure we can spend it. That's
Determine that,
without, violating
No.
some kind of regulation as it
Yeah.
relates to a grant.
No. The grant money will be all spent out. This is the over and above money that you put in on top of the grant.
Thank you.
I know there was things like also the sidewalk going in, and some discussion on that. Is that,
We are going to look at doing that in-house over the summer, and then, adding that sidewalk and getting some contracts through that. Rich and I have kind of talked through some plans as to what some of those would look like. Also, the air, I think that's a big, try to get the mechanical for the air, but then also looking at what that looks like. Because we did come up with some, hopefully, creative ways to utilize some of our funds from food service to do some of the other issues, and then combine the two along the way. So we're hoping to get those numbers and find some contractors to put that together who will kind of work within those parameters. So those are, we're trying to get some numbers to work those through to get moving.
okay.
Those would all be summer projects, so we're right on time for that as well.
So our goal would be by the first week of February at the latest to have all these numbers, summarized, everything finalized, have a final closeout to send to Stephen and Chris and go through that and then get that back to the board. The way we would handle it is it would be, depending on if you decide to use some of that under that particular contract, some of that money for some other work, then we can keep it open. If not, then we would close out the contract, wrap up that GMP, come up with a deductive change order to summarize all the accounting on it, and then issue that, send it to the board for final approval. So we will be working with the administration towards that, and then whatever you decide on it, we'll take it from there. Any questions on those two projects? Anything else before we jump into the Buckeye?
Nope.
Okay. So Buckeye, what we did, obviously, we had put a GMP together back in the fall. That came out to about right around the 9.6. That did not include, obviously, 12 classroom. It was based on 8 and the gym. conversation I've had with Chris, we went back and we kind of took a stab at, okay, what happens if we add 4 classrooms? We obviously, as you see tonight, there is multiple different options. So these are kind of rough numbers. So we took a stab at, we do that, we add 4 more classrooms, and also we remodel the existing building. And in that existing building, we had some narrative work that Brian's team had put together on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing component of things. So that we had a pretty good, decent handle on. But the rest of it, we just figured, you know, painting, new floor, new roof, new windows, made some assumptions on our end that would need to be validated. And based on these assumptions and what I just described, the three going to 12 classrooms and remodeling the existing, we're coming up right around 14.8 million is the numbers that we're coming up with. Now, having said that, there's a lot that needs to be handled and discussed to get there. So what I had suggested to Chris would be to have a working session with Brian and his team and administration, come up with a couple of schematic designs. Maybe the board can give some feedback based on what you saw tonight that will give us a little bit of a sense of direction, so we can hone in on whatever option you feel is the one you're going to be leaning towards. And then we can start talking about, you know, detention basin, where does it go? Do we move it into the woods and spend the money on that, or do we keep it, you know, closer to take some of the grass area into detention? These are the kind of things, the parking lot, how do we handle that? We'll kick some of these things around, and then based on those, we'll come up with a couple of updated versions of the budget based on, let's say we narrow it down to 2 options, option 1, option 2, and then we can come back to the board with these budget numbers, and then you can make some decisions accordingly before we turn loose the full design of it.
Would you suggest rescinding the first GMP and getting a whole new one, or
Yes.
just adding on to the one that we have?
It doesn't, honestly, it doesn't. I mean, personally, I wouldn't, and you're not gaining anything because you're not using, unless you don't want to add the 4 classrooms. If you want to stick with 8, then yes. But and then we can have a separate GMP for the remodeling of the existing. Then yes, that would make sense.
Well, if we're gonna go with the whole 12.
Yeah, if you're gonna go with the 12, there is no sense keeping the original one, because it's you know, you're gonna be adding 2 change orders to it. That doesn't make sense from a paperwork perspective. I'm sure from a financial perspective, they would rather not have to deal with it that way. Just have 1 GMP for the entire scope of work that you want to do at Buckeye.
And they're okay with that?
I've not spoken with Cleveland about that specifically.
Yeah, they'll be fine with that. We've had those discussions. There's no issues with that at all. So what would need to happen is you actually never entered into a contract. So all you did, you approved GMP. So that doesn't mean anything, because you never went into a contract. So what we would do is we would basically really not even engage into that GMP. Go through some of the exercises with Ryan and the administration, come up with a couple of options, get a feeling from the board which one you want to go with. We'll give you some preliminary numbers, whichever option you pick. Then we'll go through that design and come up with a new GMP for all of it.
Could you elaborate on the 14.8 for the remodeling of the existing? I know you said paint, floor, windows, but does that include bathrooms, interior doors, exterior doors? Does that
Yes.
include things like the teacher's lounge, for example, just spitballing,
It does.
all areas like that?
It's not all new, so we would look through, Ryan and I had this conversation the other day when we were talking as to what it looks like, and we can take you through the schools where they've done it, but then replace all the doors. They look at some of the doors that really need to be done and some of the ones that they can refinish and make some changes there. They look at things like, are the fixtures up to code, or do we need to change some bathroom fixtures? But what is good and what do we need to replace? We've done some things along the way to keep it up to date. So it is about making that building turnkey, but it won't all be brand new.
It is
But
not
it is it's having the same systems that you saw in some of the classrooms, existing classrooms. But we're not knocking out a bunch of walls and that sort of thing.
It is not a total gut, and it's a remodel of the existing. So we're not, as Chris said, we're not demolishing all the interior walls and starting fresh from that. We're keeping what you have, updating what you have. On the MEP side, that will all be the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. That will all be new equipment on that part of it, like new windows, new roof.
New water lines.
But some of the existing rooms that they are, I mean, we could do painting and flooring, but we're not tearing down walls and moving things around, basically.
Well,
It'd be a
in-
refresh.
In a lot of the classrooms here, there are built-in cabinets for their coats and book bags and whatnot. Does that 14.8 include that, or is that separate?
Yeah,
We haven't looked into the specifics of that and gotten into how much that casework will cost.
right.
Yeah.
And also, there was a desire by some teachers to have a door between rooms.
Those would be in all the new
Yeah,
12.
okay.
Absolutely, and then we
Right.
would look at cost for specific rooms and what they take and whether we're abating or not.
Okay.
So one of the things that we would suggest is obviously to kind of go through some of that exercise and come up with a little bit more descriptive options that we will work with Ryan on. When we have that, we'll be able to come back with a little bit more realistic numbers, but also answer some of your questions that you're bringing up, and also give alternates. So we could establish some of the budgets for the base scope of work, and then, for instance, let's say you decide you want to entertain putting doors in between the classrooms, right? So we can take a look at what that looks like. We have to cut the wall, put a beam in, put a door in. We can treat that as an alternate and price that, and see if the budget allows it or doesn't. But the base bid would be all the things that need to happen.
Sure.
And then we could, from there, look at some alternates, and if the budget allows it, then we can include that. If the budget doesn't, then it won't make it into the project.
And would we, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
would we be looking at any upgrades to the cafeteria kitchen? No, I'm not saying that we need them, I'm just curious
We
how
did,
encompassing this is.
we did not look at upgrades into the kitchen. I believe the cafeteria was just aesthetics.
The cafeteria was floor ceiling.
Yeah.
Obviously air, lights, that sort of thing, but not necessarily getting into the kitchen.
Yeah, those numbers do not include any new kitchen equipment or a new layout or anything. It's just basically the existing as is. Sure.
So it sounds like the first step is you'll work with Dr. Tino, Dr. Thompson, and the administration to kind of put together some place for us to start,
We are-
bring back to the board.
We're looking at getting a meeting on the books for early next week or
Perfect.
sometime next week to
And then-
get that done with Mrs. Smolin as well.
Okay, and
Have
then
some of those conversations, absolutely.
hopefully in February's meeting, we'll have some things to go over and start talking
Absolutely.
about.
Yep.
Perfect.
That would be the goal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have an estimate, Roger, when we could have a GMP?
Well, it all depends on how quickly we turn the drawings around. So some of the schedules that Chris and I had talked about would be, I'd like to be in a position where we have completed drawings sometime maybe in March. I don't know if Ryan is probably gonna smack me over the head when I go sit next to him, but so this would be the goal to at least or be working on them with. And as we did before, I mean, we came up with a preliminary estimate and a preliminary GMP. It wasn't final, but we ended up being very close to it. I mean, we came within a couple percent. So we can do the same thing, but the goal would be to get some drawings finalized in March. I mean, a lot of it has already been done with the 8 classrooms. So depending on if we scratch that completely or if we use some of that and add to it, the existing, we already know a lot of what needs to be put together from a mechanical, electrical, and so we can, if we can come to terms on that as to exactly what you want done with the existing, they can start working on their documents. And if we have something by the end of March, we could have a GMP sometime in April, break ground on the addition in May or June, and then work as much as we can in the existing in the summer 26, and then complete the addition by the end of the year, beginning of 2027, come back in the summer 27, finish everything else and have it all done and ready for August of 27. That's kind of the game plan that we were putting together and working towards.
So I guess my question, and maybe this would be a question also for my partner over here, is, and it's a board comfort question too, really. In order to take advantage of the summer, obviously we want to go and be able to break ground by that April timeframe. How comfortable are we, not we, board, at going ahead with the financing without a solid GMP? I know what your answer is. That's just something to consider, and can you address that when your time comes? Thank you.
Yeah, from our perspective, I mean, obviously it's the board's decision. I could tell you that at this moment in time, I wouldn't put my name on a 14.8, but I think in about a 2 months period, if we have some further discussions with Ryan's design team and with the administration, we get somewhere where we have a clear sense of direction. Okay, here's where it's going to be 2 stories, it's going to be 1 story. The gym is going to go here. This is what the parking lot is going to be. If we can get to that point and exactly what we're doing in the existing, we can come up with a number that we're pretty comfortable with. That then you could potentially use that for your financing.
If I'm not mistaken, everybody's working on the same timeline. So like, by the time they come up with dollars, you guys still have work to do.
Correct.
Right now. So I think everything will mesh, but I know, like for myself, I would never be comfortable like going out and saying, hey, let's sell some bonds and then not have a building to put up because we can't afford it with the money that we just raised. So,
I understand.
Right.
That was
But
my
Is
question.
it perhaps if we have these meetings by the February meeting, that perhaps we come back with a better estimate to kind of get some more comfort level with that?
well, I don't think the timeline between when we get a GMP and you guys would be ready to go. So
We'll
like
be
it really
working
wouldn't.
contemporaneously as you go ahead and refine all these drawings and amounts. The main thing being is obviously we would need to make certain that at the point where we would actually set the rates is the point legally where you would be able to contractually enter into that agreement with the contractor.
Which you're probably looking at April for that. So if that works within your time frame, that should get us there on our end as well.
It works out. Yeah.
Well, that's a
Appreciate
good
it.
segue
Any other
for you to
questions
come and
from-
pontificate
for
the
Roger?
prolifical.
Next
Whatever.
up is next best
All right.
report is
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger.
Thanks, Roger.
Mr. Mike Priscilla, can I speak a little bit to the board about financing in 15,000 syllables or less?
That was syllables, not words.
All words I can spell, Mike.
It's great to be back. It's good to see everybody. Happy New Year. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. We, just as Belinda had indicated, we've already got majority of the legwork done for this transaction. We have a disclosure that will need some minor updating because we have crossed over the calendar year. That will not be a significant amount of effort. The grading has already been established. The school district was reaffirmed by Moody's at AA3. I will go back to Moody's. It's been a little while since we talked to them. There may be a call just to refresh things for that, but nothing like the initial call. That rating may very well still be ready to go, and they may just still say, okay, move forward with that. The one thing we're going to address with the structure, if I may, we had originally contemplated utilizing a dual structure, really trying to minimize as best we can the interest rate by layering on top what was a tax anticipation note that is capped at 10 years repayment, the remaining being over 30 years, which would be the certificates of participation. Now, as we were approaching the transaction, things were starting to gear up for a pricing last year. I was already getting indication from then the desk with whom we were working that 10-year portion of the TAN may very well not price anything worse than the COPS. There are going to be certain expenses associated with making the entire issue certificate of participations, but that also allows more flexibility for repayment levels over those 30 years coming from the district and how to repay that. If you take that portion that we are contemplating putting in that 10-year repayment, you condense that amount, that payment's going to be higher. So we kind of had a stratified look over 30 years where payments for the first 10 years were at X and then they dropped down to Y. Where now, if we contemplate on making the entire structure certificates of participation, we'll be able to customize that debt service evenly. The whole thing will come down in the amount owed every year. But there is an inherent expense to that. We will provide that analysis side by side for Drs. Thompson and Rotino to examine. I'll be able to gladly present it to the board. The one thing I say all the time in my industry, in my profession, flexibility costs money. That's when you want the flexibility to hedge against rate movement or to be able to have a lower payment, those things tend to cost a little more in interest rate. I'm not talking millions of dollars by any means, but my job as your fiduciary is to get you the lowest cost possible, and that's what we'll put together. As for the time frame, we are working on an almost exact time frame. Get the disclosure ready to go. We have already ordered the site work to be done, which would allow us now to get back to have the transaction insured. We'll be working with a firm out of New York called Build America Mutual. They have already granted us a commitment letter, but the one thing that was missing on the original structure was the actual title survey work, which is the legal description of the property. If I may, I will only take 2 minutes to briefly describe for the new board members how the certificates of participation work. It's a real estate-based transaction. You may have heard the term, developers use it a lot. It's called a sale leaseback. So we enter into an agreement with a third-party shell entity that actually holds the property, leases it back to the district. And there's two components to the transaction. There's the ground, and then there's the building on top of the ground, which we refer to as the asset. What we have to make certain is that certificate holders, their remedy as investors in this transaction is that if you do not pay your debt service, they have the legal right to come in, take over the asset through the term of the ground lease. They cannot liquidate it, they cannot sell it, but they can obtain it and do what they want to generate revenue in order that they can get their investment back. It is purely a threat concept, but at the same token, legally, that is their remedy. So the school district goes to every condition possible to make certain they can pay that debt, otherwise your building is going to be at stake. So that's why we're contemplating insuring the entire transaction. That gets you the lowest cost possible. We'll provide a cost-benefit analysis as cash flow, because the insurance does cost money up front. Sometimes you hear the transactions can be enhanced by the state through the Ohio Credit Enhancement Program, oftentimes referred to as the Intercept Program. Certificates of participation do not qualify for that enhancement. But the district has been established at a AA3. Top rating is AAA, AA1, AA2, then you are at AA3. Because there is an appropriation risk factor associated with these types of transactions, meaning because you do not need a vote for this transaction, in the eyes of Ohio Revised Code, it is a series of annually renewable lease payments. So every year the board will get together and they will have to appropriate that year's debt service. That's how it gives you the legal opportunity to undertake this financing. So in doing such, that is one thing. You may be AA3 as general obligation, but because there's that appropriation risk, the transaction goes out as an A1. That's where the insurance comes in. That gets you to AA programmatic. And then you pay for that. I will provide all that analysis. I see.
Mike, does our collateral change since we're adding it all into COPS, or is it the same?
So the collateral is going to be the same. If anything now, the collateral as a scale, the economy of scale actually works to your favor. Whereas you were going to have to put a designation around that asset for a smaller portion of the transaction, at least now you're designating that asset with a larger ratio to the transaction. It makes it look on paper much more equitable, but it will not have to change. And I will make certain that BAM is satisfied with the asset and that they do not overreach in trying to bring in additional assets on the ground lease.
2 questions for you. Thank you, by the way. So you're saying originally, if we do away with the concept of TANs and only COPS, it would be the same payment over the course of the repayment?
So yes, if the payment will be almost identical, it won't be to the penny, it'll be very, very close, but I'll be able to make that level debt for 30 years.
And then, in the hypothetical event that Buckeye doesn't last the 30 years, it burns down, we decide to tear off the old part, and we're still going to pay that for that term regardless of what happens to the
It's
property?
an excellent question, yes, because the certificate holders are in a position of primary lien. If, for instance, there was a force majeure, fire, something, or for whatever reason you decide maybe 15, 20 years down the road, you want to minimize that facility's use within the scope of your entire project, you will need approval by the insurer to do that. Because you cannot dilute that asset's worth in their ratio. Because now, let's just say you decided after the fire, we're only going to build up half. You still have to pay it, but that's still under the ground lease. And you're going to have to make certain that the insurer signs off on that. Improvements, expansion, no problem. Now they're in a better situation. Reduction, contraction, that's going to require sign off.
And would that reduction also include if hypothetically enrollment was way down and we decided to close the building? That payment would stay true
Absolutely.
until the term is over?
Right, right. And the insurer, we would be in major negotiation if you were to decide to close that building.
Okay.
Because at that point, their remedy is gone.
Sure.
What about paying off early penalties, anything like that?
Excellent question. That remains the same. That has remained constant. Another discussion topic we had going into this late last year is one of the items that I always demand of the underwriters is as early as possible what we call an optional redemption provision. It gives you the opportunity where it's normally between 7 and 10 years. We make the underwriter price the structure that in 5 years you will have an opportunity to pay it off, restructure. Most importantly, why we implement that 5-year call is the opportunity to refinance. And that's going to remain constant. And the pricing has never fluctuated to bring that to 5 years. The moment the underwriter starts telling me that there's an expense associated with that, I'm looking for another underwriter. Because that is a given we will not falter on.
And any refinancing option, does that exist?
So that particular...
Like in other words, if the interest rate dropped?
That optionality allows that for you. But prior to 2017, you were eligible by law, by IRS law. So if I may, again, only 2 minutes. So you have a 5-year call, meaning at 5 years, any investor who holds those bonds 5 years and out, they know that you have the right to tell them at any given time, here's your money, I'm out. I don't have to pay you the interest. I can give you the principal that's owed if you have a windfall. More importantly, before 2017, you were eligible to tell them that once before those 5 years. Now you cannot. You have to wait those 5 years. If you were to try to restructure or refinance prior to those 5 years, you would not be eligible to do so in a tax-exempt fashion.
We did that once.
Yes, we have refinanced, and there are currently callable portions of the debt existing. We have kept those on our radar, and we'll make certain if by chance come April, we just don't know what may happen with, there's going to be new blood at the Fed, there's going to be a new approach to Fed policy. If there is a run on rates, the best time to refinance is when you have a new money component, because now, again, coming back to it, you have economies of scale. There are redundant costs, just like if you have to pay for your security cameras at home, you got to pay for one, or you pay the same for 10. Now, if you have 2 transactions, Those costs remain the same whether you're doing one or two, so you can dilute the cost associated with the refinancing, which makes it all the more efficient. But we will keep an eye on that as this progresses.
Mike, am I understanding this correctly? The TANs was the option that could not exceed 50% of PI.
That is correct.
Where COPS isn't tied to PI. We will use PI, but we could pay general fund a COPS back, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And we generally, in our world, we call a COPS issue a general fund borrowing. Because unlike general obligation, that's tax backed, you have the opportunity to bring in these funds with whatever it is. Obviously, we are looking at, and we make certain too, going through, I am not going to recommend a transaction that I think the district cannot afford. That would be pretty stupid on my behalf. So we are making certain that there is room for allocation of additional monies from the permanent improvement revenue, not that is completely taken up by the obligation on these COPS.
And on our last look at the 15 million, it was somewhere just under $1 million. So that's about a third. If we took it all out of PI, that's approximately what it would be.
Yeah.
It may change a little bit, but I doubt it changes too much.
The rate environment has moved slightly since the end of the year, whereas you may have seen an increase in the 10-year Treasury rate. Municipals tax exempts have actually outperformed Treasuries. So in my world, for the longest time, I've been doing this 30 years now, you would see Treasury rates and tax exempt rates kind of move uniformly, though there's a gap, one lower than the other. That trend is done. I mean, just the other day, it was amazing. I saw the equity markets, the Dow Industrials came down almost 1,000 points, which for 25 years in my world, you always to look to the treasuries and say, okay, how well do they rally? Meaning, how low did rates come today? The opposite happened. So the economy, given everything after COVID, those trends and types of projections are very askew. But the environment in total has not moved against us in any dramatic fashion. You're talking a handful of basis points. We have the team ready to go. I've spoken with Tom Wilson, your bond counsel. He is aware of everything that I was going to talk today. I had talked with Dr. Rottino earlier about establishing a date. Going to be another kickoff call. We did it once before. This one's not going to be nearly as intricate, but I'm going to make certain that bond counsel has his list of to-dos fully ready to go, so that way we get on the phone, work contemporaneously while your architects and GMP come up with their numbers, and then that will be the number that Mr. Thompson will ultimately put into a new resolution. And if there are costs that are starting to be accumulated, you may still want to consider the resolution of intent. I believe we had passed one before. That gives you the opportunity to not only pay with certificate of participation proceeds in the end, it gives you a 60-day look back. So if you've had any type of soft cost, design costs that have come out of pocket, these are things that we can still capture in paying off with the COPS. I will talk to Mr. Wilson about that. That will certainly be one of the topics upon which we will touch when we have our next kickoff call. But we are in good position.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
I
It's
think
great to be back here.
We look forward to having you and Ryan and Roger all working with our administration and bringing ideas back to us so that we can have some good discussion here at the table.
You got
So
it. I'll
thank
be
you.
able to put all the analysis for you together. I'll keep everyone updated. That was pretty Reader's Digest, man. That wasn't
I
too
appreciate
bad.
it.
All right.
Mike, can you also calculate our percent of debt? You know, we can exceed 9% of.
Oh, certainly.
Could you
Oh,
give-
yeah.
I know we're nowhere near it, but I'd like to see it.
There too, I'll start having Tom Wilson look at potential exceptional need calculations here
Okay.
in the event of the capital plans in the future to be examined, because you're obviously, you're expanding, you're the student body, you have those needs, so I'm on top of that.
Thank you.
That is encompassed in that, like these bonds would,
It would not apply to this, but for
future, but these would affect that, correct?
these will.
Like, does this indebtedness, the COPS indebtedness,
It will
count
not,
towards those,
it
or
will
do
not
they
count
not?
against that because these are lease revenue bonds, not general obligation. I'm going to go on a limb and say that I cannot ask you to take that as gospel. It's a little out of my lane, but I will make certain I address that with Mr. Wilson. But in the scheme of things, if it was, I do not believe that it applies. I truly do not.
I just
believe
remember
it
in
does.
2020, whatever year it was, we were like right up against that.
Right, right. And you
Yeah.
have, in your AV though here has really, really blown up. It's huge. It's one of the biggest in this part of the state.
Thank you.
You got it. Pleasure being here. Thanks
Thanks,
again.
Mike.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Mike.
Any questions? Both Drs. Thompson or Tino have my contact information. Anybody from the board wishes to email or call anytime, no problem. I'll get right back to you. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
I'll be back to you and Steve with the dates tomorrow
Okay.
to get that call. It'll be in the next couple weeks.
I won't take it.
Okay, I have one more special report tonight, and that's just an update on the strategic plan as we are getting near the end of it. So I will try to go through this as fast as I can, again, in 15,000 syllables or less. But our strategic plan has been approved, passed by the board from 2022 to 2026. So we are kind of closing out this plan. Just as a reminder, it's based on 4 main pillars: safety, climate, and wellness, advocacy, partnerships, and engagement, fiscal sensibility, and teaching and learning. When I took a look at all of the things that we've done in these 4 years, I took a deep breath and said, wow, we've done a lot. To really look at where we are with the plan and kind of just providing the next steps. So really looking at safety, climate, and wellness, the main pillar under that was make Riverside a safe, healthy, and happy place to work and learn through the development of healthy organizational habits. And we had some major points of focus. Develop staff celebration and support programming. We have done that in our annual end of the year kind of carnival or picnic, I guess it is, for staff. We do these staff welcomings. Really done a lot to kind of make staff want to be a part of it and make them a part, make their voices heard. We've done it also through our BLTs and our DLTs and bringing different types of staff members together to really get their input and feedback and really have those conversations. The next point was proactively identify at-risk students, create programs to address discipline and mental health. We've done a lot of that through not only our threat assessments, but also adding some coaches to work with behavior coaching, as well as really kind of key up our support personnel to make sure they're there. Increased communication and shared decision-making, kind of really looking at what we do in terms of buy-in and all of that. We've worked through that. Our communication, I think Nick does a fantastic job throughout, and now he's even including songs and visuals throughout social media. We have a sound social media presence, which really does impact not only our families, but also our students as well. Relatively concise emails, as well as robust phone calls as needed and all that, but trying to come up with different ways to reach our families as well. Also, some of the things that we will, I'm sure, talk about in old business or new business in terms of coffees with Chris, just getting out there and listening sessions with our constituents and getting people to provide access to not only myself, Dr. Thompson, our administration, but also the board. And then increase safety, and I think we've shown that in a number of ways. I think to highlight the one was Halloween a year ago, when we had the gunshot right outside of Riverview, and the fact that we handled that with very, very few hiccups along the way. We have school resource officers, school safety officers in every single building that are there and that form great relationships with our students to make them feel safe. We have put all vestibules. All of our buildings have secure vestibules in them as well. And as we continue to build out, we're looking at what that looks like throughout. So next major area was teaching and learning. This is one that Dr. Walker has championed and our programming is amazing. Expand program options and deliver to meet the needs of each student and grow teacher capacity and efficacy. I think that's what we've done a lot with our personalized learning and really taking that approach with our teaching, but also the courses and programs that we've done to address the needs of all students. Next month we'll be in the CTE. We can really see that firsthand. But our career exploration classes, our pathways courses, the programming that's coming through business advisory that are career-based, starting as low as second grade and all the way up. The different curricula we're providing for our students to provide more challenging, more rigorous curriculum. I think the shared instructional expectations, we had a DLT meeting today to really talk about what instruction looks like, what high quality instruction looks like. the Riverside Way, the instructional round piece to it, MTSS, and the data that's shown from from really implementing that MTSS process with Fidelity. We're seeing great gains this year within our MAP testing along the way from September to January. We saw that, and then also the high quality staff development that's there. We don't necessarily bring people in; we do it in house. We have an in-house staff development that has been, the past couple of days, we've gotten nothing but great feedback from. It is about personalized learning. It's about giving our staff members choice, like we want them to give our students choice. So what interests them in a safe space? We do provide some recommendations for things to attend, but we also want our staff to kind of find their passion and go with their passion and continue to build. And I think you see that a lot in our staff when they ask, hey, can I try this? We look for ways to say yes. To new programming, or new courses, or new concepts. So always looking for, how can I do this best? And they always have a student-centered approach to it, because this will make it better for students this way. So I think those are things we've done in teaching learning, and it's an area we have really, really made great strides in, and can't wait to see kind of where we're going, especially in the opportunities for growth in our career spaces. Unbelievable. Fiscal sensibility, this is always one. I think whatever we do, we're going to always be fiscally responsible. Maximize return on investment for all funding sources, seek new revenue streams for facilities plan implementation, improve physical safety, and financially support district priorities and strategies. I think now as we are shifting into a deficit spending role, we have to be even more considerate of this, but when you look at what we've done with our facilities through grant money, through not only the $2.5 million for CTE, and how we've not only purposely placed that there, but also when you talk about maximizing dollars, now CTE is not only a place where we can offer great educational opportunities. It provides a nighttime entrance to the campus where we can kind of have a center point where it goes into student dining, it goes into the directly into the auditorium, the places where our families will be. It goes directly into that, and they don't have to walk all the way down the long hallway, so it makes it easier for our families to have that. The expansion here, how we're using that, we design those classrooms to be preschool as needed, but if we need to shift them because Kingsman, we see a surge in enrollment, we have the ability to shift and pivot and have these courses, these classrooms have serve different purposes as we need. I think those are great examples there. I think we are open with our finances and how we continue to communicate them out. And we've been, kind of working on this idea of fiscal sensibility and fiscal stability throughout. I think that's something that this district has always done in getting the most return on our taxpayer dollars to make sure we're moving that forward. Advocacy partnerships and engagement. There it is. Getting the wrong button. Advocacy partnership engagement. Engage Riverside community through communication, educational advocacy, and development of purposeful partnerships without business and alumni. I can't thank Mr. Carabine enough and say enough of the great things that his department, or the Department of One, but
I'd like to thank my staff.
but that he has done to put Riverside's name out there, to push out all the good things through social media, through just the sponsorship programs, through the banner sponsorship program, the money he's raised through that, and kind of providing some advertising opportunities. The continued good news he posts about the district, and when things don't go so well, the way that message also gets spread, the way he purposely delivers that message in terms of transparency, openness, and straightforwardness. I think that's a fantastic job. I think too, it's about how we have these meetings with our community when we sit and have those listening sessions and bring our community in to listen to what is happening with them. I think those are really purposeful things. And then the things that we have put out, the quality profile, continuing to build with our website, and I think that's one thing, as we develop our website, put things on the website, but having a central place to find one-stop Riverside. I think we can continue to improve, and I think as technology improves, we continue to improve, and if you keep the same, it gets a little stale, so when you shake it up, you have people more hits to your website, but then there's also the change aspect to that, and all that, but I think those are things that we look at to the next step. The last pillar, that was it. That was all four. So I hit all four. So, again, 15,000. So trying to keep it up.
I know you're doing great. Keep going, boss.
So for that, I guess any questions specifically until we get to next steps, although I have it up there. So kind of as we close this out, recommended next steps, I think it's a good plan, but I think we do need a refresh. I think we need to kind of get a refresh of the plan, to revise it, to look at have we closed out some of these? I know that a lot of things we've done, facilities plan has fallen under the strategic plan. I think that's still a kind of a concept. We've also introduced new concepts and new kind of anchor documents, if you would. The portrait of a Riverside Beaver isn't really touched in the strategic plan. Moving forward, I would recommend we kind of incorporate that into our next plan. One of the things that I know touches dear to me is a simplified mission and vision statement. We have a mission statement that is a paragraph long. It was created probably 12 years ago now, if not more, whereas actually more of an activity of wordsmithing. And really, truly, what's our mission? And I would say our mission is on our one logo. It's educating excellence. So do we change that to that's our mission and kind of simplify it so that everyone knows it? Our vision, I don't think anyone here would argue that our vision is one community pursuing greatness and getting better every day. That's how we do everything, and kind of really looking at what those are and really adopting those as this is our mission, this is our vision, and how we work into that. And everything we do falls under that and is guided by that. And then finally, I think it's time to go back, have some focus groups, and not by us. I would recommend a third-party entity who actually knows how to run focus groups. Come in, meet with our community, meet with our students, meet with our staff, meet with our stakeholders, get that feedback and say, this is where we're going. Are we living our strategic plan, or are we saying we're living our strategic plan, but actually I'm experiencing this, to kind of have some of that feedback to put this plan together. I don't think it's a big document. I've seen strategic plans that are this thick, 100 pages, you put them up on the shelf. It needs to be simple. I do believe in that. I believe the one chart kind of highlight, you point to it. I think we need to keep a simple plan. But I think having people who aren't tied into it as close and intimately as we are, may point out some things that, hey, you're really missing the ball here. To have some ideas to that really does help. So I would like to work with Mrs. Grassi. I know that she is the liaison to bring in and have some companies give us some proposals to what that work would look like, what it would take, and kind of move forward with that, so we can adopt a new plan starting 2027 and out, or 26 and out, I guess.
Like, what do you think the timeline is for having that done? It's taken us probably a year every time we've done it. Do you know what I'm saying?
So
like by the time...
I know Auburn recently did one, and I was going to reach out to the company that did Auburn, and they just approved theirs now, and they started in August. So they were able to do it in a short and condensed time.
Okay.
And Auburn had a lot of work to do. So I think that's like having a company come in to have that and kind of set that up as a.
I don't know. I'm looking at old and new business. We got a lot.
But I would say for the first time in a really long time, we have a document to look at and say, yes, we accomplished this. No, we didn't. And I don't mean to cut you off, Dr. Rotino, but I've been here through all of them. And I feel like for the first time, we're starting from a point where we're like, yes, we accomplished this, or the community or the stakeholder groups will say, no, you didn't do this. And then we can move forward. We're not starting from ground zero.
I would agree. Like,
you know what I mean?
We have
Like
a good starting place, and we
Yeah.
have something, new things that we've talked, I mean, we even talked in curriculum,
Yeah.
That we have some things that we want to work on, so those would probably best be served by getting added to the strategic plan.
I think we do have some anchor documents that we can build off of. I think when you look at the pathway to excellence that we've talked about a lot, if our mission is educating excellence, there's the pathway to it, kind of how it ties together. It's all really brilliant how it all works. When you look at the portrait of Riverside Beaver and how that looks, and how all of it within the plan and partnerships and how we build those things out. And then, I mean, it is about giving back to that community, one community, and how we work with our partners along the way. I think those are all kind of key points to that. And having an outside firm come in and kind of really draw who specializes in those to tie those together, I think is really a strength to it. I don't think it's going to take nearly the time that they took before, because we live this, and we tie things back to it. We make decisions based on where does it fit in the strategic plan? Does it kind of bother that? I mean, it's not just a document that's there. I will say one of its major downfalls and areas to really grow on are, yes, we can check it off, but it's all, and it's qualitative. Yes, we did it, or no, we didn't, and these are examples of. The hard data isn't quite there yet, and I think that's where, the next plan, to really have some hard data points along the way too. I think to have some metrics. Qualitative is great, and yes, we can do some of that, but I think there's a quantitative piece as well that needs to kind of continue on with some of this.
Let's do it.
Okay. And finally, that concludes my report.
Let me see.
So now we're to old business, new business.
Which, we have a lot, so
We
we'll
do.
go quickly. You know, just for the board to know, I took everything that everybody sent to me, I combined some of it because there was very like topics. Some of it I asked Dr. Tino, I know covered some of it in the personnel meeting recently. So what I have here, we'll kind of go through, I sent the list to everybody, so they're aware of what we'll go through. But the first thing under, we do old business first? Under old business, is vouchers per Ohio. Belinda, that's yours?
Yes, it was. So we had talked about this, I think, going back even till like last April and May. And that lawsuit is gaining some steam. They're going to hear that at the court level in, I think it's July of this year. And so there's a cost to joining that program. And if we are considering it, I would be happy to gather that information again. This was, 2 days ago, and I told Lori I think I would have to pull all that information together again. 2 days probably wasn't enough time for me to do that. So just what the pros and cons are. Lori put the website on, I think
I did, I included a link.
you included a link to the website for Vouchers for Ohio and that advocacy group. There are, I think, 210 districts now that are members supporting that legal battle, and what vouchers mean, what they do. I think maybe if we had some information around that this full board hasn't heard before, would be helpful. And I can put some of that information together because I had gone to a workshop in April where a big component of that workshop was the vouchers lawsuit. So if we are interested in that, there is a cost to that. It was $2 per student for the students in your district. And if we value public education, personally, I think it's a valuable spend of our dollars to make sure that at the state level we are advocating for as much money as we can, moving that away from the voucher program, which they get far more dollars than we do. And so if you want to move forward with that conversation, I would be happy to bring that to the next meeting.
I know, I would like to move
just say,
forward with it.
In the last year, in the most recent budget, $1 billion was.
Oh, it's more
spent
than that, correct.
For the voucher program, and the most recent legislation has, been impacted on property tax reduction, which is our primary funding.
And I have data that supports information through the last fiscal year, and then they did come out with additional data for the last school year, so I could just add that to the information that I had available. And I don't believe that I ever really presented the information to the board because there was no interest at the board table at the time where I brought that to the table. But if this board is inclined to hear that information, I would be happy to do that. Prior to, I thought there was a deadline, or not a deadline, but that they're saying if you want to get involved, you should
gotta
do
do it
so by
now.
a certain
Yeah,
date.
You gotta start acting.
Is this $2, so let's say $8,000 annually or a one-time fee?
Annually.
It is an annual fee, but again, the court is going to hear that the court already heard the argument, and they put a stay on it until July, where they were going to take it to a higher level court in order for them to actually hear all the arguments. And so that's going to happen, I think, in July. I think it behooves us to be part of that, again, and to support those kinds of advocacy efforts that are happening. Again.
Just some brief, interesting information that I think is lost in all this. In the Ohio Constitution, Article 6, Section 2 requires the state of Ohio to secure an efficient system of public common schools and forbids religious or other sects. So, as Dr. Rutino just mentioned, $1 billion this past cycle was sent to in the form of essentially vouchers. And what they found out, early statistics, vouchers were supposed to be for poor students in struggling schools, and an opportunity for them to have a better shot at education. That was the initial intent. 86% of the kids that take vouchers are well above the poverty line. In fact, now, that you can get the full voucher at 400% above poverty, 400%. And there is no, they can always get some amount of money. And 76% of all the students that are taking vouchers so far were kids that never attended public school. They're just, the parents have an opportunity to get these dollars. And what we've also found is, what do you think when the voucher money comes in, which is about, roughly, depends on what grade you're in, but roughly around the $8,000 mark. What do you think many of the private schools did once vouchers were available at $8,000? Yes.
They increased by 8,000?
What a thought! Yes, indeed. It didn't make it any more accessible, and yet this is clearly a diversion to further negatively impact public education and in my opinion, an underhanded way to shift dollars from public education to private schools that is clearly unconstitutional. And that's what this lawsuit is all about.
There's a whole slew of data on who's participating. There's 5 different voucher programs within the state. Some of them, like our autism scholarships, and there are certain reasons for some of the scholarship vouchers, and then the ones that have been newly introduced are the ones that have proliferated, and once they did the voucher expansion, why that has been a problem, and now more and more dollars just get funded over into that arena. Statistics have proven that their test scores don't go up. There has been a lot of data that says where these individuals are coming from, who's participating, and that there is no accountability for the schools that participate in the voucher program, and their accountability to the state that we have to do is not the same, and that has been problematic. And so all of these things are rolled into the lawsuit and the legal issues. And so again, I would be very happy to bring that information. I have it all summarized and would love to do that.
And last thing, because I could get fired up about this. In 2023-24 school year, the students in Cleveland Heights, University Heights district received $2,600 of state funding per student. At Choice, every student that left their school on a voucher received in K-8 $6,166, and high school students got $8,408. So what in effect is happening is a levy goes on the ballot, the community votes up or down, let's assume up in this case, up to support their students and their community to have vouchers take dollars that were intended to be spent and paid for by those homeowners to wherever. And that is wrong.
I think I had done some math that if we got $8,000 for every one of our high school students and we got $6,000 for every one of our elementary students, we would get $47 million, and we wouldn't have to have any property taxes. So at the end of the day, it's really important for us to advocate for these things. And like I said, I have a slew of documentation and data that I will be happy to gather and just add the current year's information to it so that we can have some basics, and if we are so inclined, that if we could have that on our agenda for next board meeting, I think it would be a really good
You and I could get together and geek out with the numbers.
So awesome.
Yeah, it would be.
Let's
wouldn't
do
it?
it.
Put it on a spreadsheet.
We'll put it in a spreadsheet.
Put it on a spreadsheet.
I
Yeah.
did have the opportunity when I went to the Ohio School Board's convention this fall to attend one of the Ed Choice voucher lawsuit moving forward toward a favorable outcome presentation. And so I did have, a summary of it that really was good. Don't have a copier here to make one of that, but there was a recent article, if you want to pass that down, about the school voucher program under legal microscope. And it talked about, and this was just published in a filing Monday, Columbus City Schools urged State Appeals Court to uphold a judge's ruling that taxpayer-funded vouchers for private school tuition are unconstitutional, and then it goes into more detail. I also went on the site to click on all the communities or school districts that belong, and this is a complete list I downloaded. You know, just locally, just for your information, in Geauga County, it was Chardon, local. I know we're a member of the ESC of Northeast Ohio, correct? They're a member. Geneva Area City Schools, they're representing Ashtabula. A lot of other school districts around the state. Mayfield City Schools is a member in Cuyahoga, but there's other Cuyahoga ones. Shaker Heights, and the only one in Lake County right now is Wycliffe City Schools. So just to kind of give you an overall of which schools are, you know, doing this. The main thing being, you know, the cost, and if, you know, I mean, we're levy eminent, so if, you know, $2 a student equaling $8,000 or a little over $8,000 a year, it is in litigation. And it sounds like it's going to be acted upon fairly soon, according to this. It said on June 24th, Judge Page, in a surprise ruling without a trial, ruled that Ed Choice voucher system unconstitutional on the basis of a 2-day hearing, and ruled in favor of the coalition on 3 of the claims, counts 1, 2, and 4. There were 5 claims total. And so the fact is that when the state pays $8,400 for a high school voucher student and $2,000 for a district high school student, there's a fundamentally, you know, right issue surfaces. So those are the things. And then it also went into some of the reasons that are given, you know, by administrators or boards. There were 8 reasons. So I'm just going to pass this along. My ink was going dry on my computer, so I didn't get to do that. But if you want to just look at it, and these are you probably have all this, but maybe some of our members don't. So because I'm legislative liaison, I'm really focusing in on some of this stuff. Okay?
And I realize the district, we are, you know, levy imminent, you keep saying it, and I get it, but
You've made it famous.
$8,000, when we look at $2 per student, to perhaps get the Fair School Funding Plan back into full funding is extremely important for us, and sometimes that, again, we have got to fight for those things. We don't, and we need to,
I think
so.
one of the things that's fair to mention is that it's not just our cost or our loss is not just $8,000. We're still responsible for transportation for some of those students. We're still responsible for special education services at some point, or title services, and there's more to cost to us than just the $8,000. And depending on the school that they go to, or depending on what else, those students could still may come back and play sports for us because those laws are written in that, or participate in some of our extracurriculars and all that. So and not that say whether it's right or that's irregardless. Like, it is, the cost is more than just the voucher. And we are on the hook for more than just the voucher. And I think that's an important thing. In a time when we can't find bus drivers, in a time when we have a challenge for all of these other ancillary services, we are legally obligated to make sure that we transport private school students almost more than we have to transport our own, and the way that the laws are written. So they are very, very hampering to us as an entity. If you look at Columbus specifically, they were in a huge lawsuit because they couldn't transport their charter schools to where the state came out and said, you transport them first and then worry about your public school kids.
Wow.
And it used to be that all those dollars would come out of our budget. That's no longer the case, so at least there's that. You know, those dollars are not being deducted from us at a full $8,000 like it used to be. So that's gone away. But the dollars that are leaving the state coffers that should be coming here, when public schools provide education to 80% of the students in the state of Ohio, yet they get that much more money than we get, is criminal. So there you have it.
So I think the question is, Ms. Rossi's asking, is I interested in her bringing some more information? Yep.
Right, and I know we talked a little bit in finance about the, calculating how many students that are residential students going and taking advantage of these vouchers, that it was hard to delineate that, but they are taxpayers. So, you know, you just want to know, you know, some impact, or whether we get feedback, I don't know.
They're not releasing that data like they did just a couple of years
Okay.
ago.
Yeah, it's harder to find it.
Much harder.
Okay.
Thank you. So the next one's yours also. Administrative handbook update.
Yes, okay, so we had, I think, last year at some point, decided we were gonna relook at the administrative handbook and update it, and I think we had done so to a
It's to a
extent.
point, it is a work in progress. I guess I'm looking for some direction.
This is the one,
This
this
is
is
the
the
board
current one.
handbook?
That's the
Oh,
board
this one, the
handbook.
board
Yes,
handbook.
I
Okay,
did
never
not
mind.
get a copy of the administrative handbook with revisions to some of that.
Because that would be a finance and personnel issue, right? I would suggest, right, I would suggest that that handbook be looked at. We always used to look at it in the Personnel Finance Committee.
I would add exempts to it, as we had talked about both administrative and exempt. to
So
make
I
sure
would
that
suggest you guys
maybe-
have that conversation in the committee, like, take it up, take a look at what it has to say, what kind of changes you want.
I've started some of the work on it, it was just,
Right, and I have the original book where we started doing edits.
That was the board one.
that's the
Yeah,
board
that's the
handbook.
board one.
Yeah.
That's the next
And
one.
this
This
is the
is
Board
the
of Education.
administrative.
You're talking about the administrative.
Right, and so,
Okay.
and I think it was both.
So
I think we
many.
were looking at, I know there's.
Yeah,
just
they're
some
looking at
things.
both.
Yeah,
So Mr. Byers has that, I think he's agreed to take it and make sure that they're taking a look at it and
Yeah,
finance
yeah,
personnel.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll work at it.
All right.
Delegated.
The last thing under old business is mid-year evaluations and goal setting. I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. So, Ms. Brewster, if you wouldn't mind just kind of sending everything over, and I'll pick up the mid-year. So I'll work on setting up a working session for us so we can get that information as far as Dr. Attino's mid-year evaluation. And then I believe we owe you some goals, so we'll work on.
No, I have, here's a copy.
Yeah.
So those goals were set and signed on September 2nd, I believe.
Right, because you just came to the
Yeah.
district.
So I'm not sure, if you flip through it, you'll see them.
Oh,
Right.
I see your signature. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and then do mid-year for you also.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll
and-
work.
And the ones with Dr. Rattino, we signed off on those prior to August 1st. The mid-year, or excuse me, the performance objectives, just the performance objectives.
I think you
The
emailed
goals.
those, correct?
I emailed those to you. Originally, there were 6, remember I have a copy here.
Yeah, I have.
That you signed. So, but there were 6, we condensed it to 4.
We did.
And we worked closely with that, and he was comfortable with those. So, I'll hand these over to you, Lori?
Yep.
Okay?
Thank you.
Because those were signed off on, and, yeah, the only concern would be if there are changes, we just want to make sure, in all fairness to the 2 administrators being evaluated, that they, you know, have been looking at those goals, working on them, or at that more than almost the halfway point. And we just want to make sure they have ample time to achieve those goals.
So can I just interject? I thought part of what we were,
One moment, we'll get to that.
are we going to get to this?
Yes.
Is that under one of these? Okay, never mind. There were so many things. There were so many things.
So many.
All right, so that takes care of old business, so new business again. The first thing on here is board retreat. As part of that board retreat, so one thing I would like to talk to the board about is setting up time for the board to get together, for us to meet and have a retreat. I'm thinking somewhere around 6 hours. Right now, what I'm thinking is we'd have an independent facilitator. One of the activities I would love for us to do is to go through our board handbook and walk away with an agreement how we're going to work together here at the board table to get board business done. Some training. Mr. McIntyre has agreed to do some ethics training, boardmanship training. If there's any other training, I'd love those ideas brought to the table on what we could cover in a training session. And then also some goal setting for 2026. That's the 3 sections of the board retreat that I kind of pictured. I think will help get us moving in the right direction in 2026. But if there's other ideas, I'd love to kind of talk about that now, and then we'll start working on pulling that together.
So when, are we thinking, do we already have a date set for this? Are we
Nope,
thinking
so-
like, or do we have a facilitator?
That's all I'm working on,
Okay.
so, but here's what I need to know first, is do we want to do it on a Saturday? Do we want to do it on a weekday? Like, what's the best option for us to get the board, Dr. Tino, Dr. Thompson together, and depending on what we do, there might be some other roles we need some help with. So,
I'm flexible on the date, but Saturdays work better, but I'm flexible.
okay. It's busy season, I know.
Saturdays probably.
Yeah, Saturdays are really tight for me in February, but, March, but I don't think you want to wait that
Nope.
long.
I'd like to get it done in February.
And I don't know what flexibility people have with their work schedules. I know I only work a half a day usually on a Wednesday but I don't know if that's sufficient time if you started at 3, but I don't know about your jobs.
What's the starting time?
If
We
you
don't
didn't
have a
wanna
starting
do a
time, I guess the
Saturday.
first thing is to figure out Saturday or weekday.
I could also do, there's a random date, but I could do President's Day, it's the 16th.
I think the best option is midnight to 7 a.m. because then nothing conflicts. I'm just telling you.
I haven't seen the ball drop on New
I
Year's Eve
can't
in
do
5
President's
years.
I'm just saying.
As long as it's not snowing the next day and it's a school day, then that's good. But other than that, I am.
Quite honestly, like for me, I'm gonna tell you, like a weekday actually probably works better because I could just take a day off and just do it, whereas a weekend is tough. It's tax season, so weekends are filled with that work.
I'll take a day off.
That's just. I could.
That's fine with
I mean, I
I'm
could
okay
do
with that,
anything.
yeah.
I just the weekends are going to be really tight for
I
me.
can do
through
weekdays.
now.
I just
Yeah,
prefer
I
not a
kinda would-
Tuesday.
I kind of would rather burn a vacation day than this. A weekend.
What did you
Right?
say first?
I can make a weekday work, just no Tuesdays if we could.
No Tuesdays?
And I can easily do Wednesday.
Friday, Monday, take a long weekend.
Yeah,
Ooh, long weekend.
You know,
long weekend?
I can't do the long weekend. It's,
you can't do
Right.
Mondays or Fridays.
no, I thought you meant
No,
President's Day.
just any random
So,
Monday or Friday.
all right, so I'll send a couple dates out. I'll
Yeah.
work with Dr. Tino, Dr. Thompson, set a couple days out, get an agreement with you. As far as the 3 sections, the board handbook, that's really directed for us as a board, to spend some time and figure out how we're gonna move forward and work together in 2026. Everybody okay with that? Training, any additional training, again, ethics review, boardmanship, anything else that, we'd like some training on as far as a board?
I have some thoughts on, like, from a fiscal standpoint, on how to read some of the data that we look at, because we have new board members who've not seen this data before, and maybe a primer on school funding would be in order.
Okay?
I mean,
like
I
that
just think
idea.
that's important stuff.
A lot of what you talked about earlier, I would love to hear more of how the vouchers impact public schools, how the busing to private schools impact our school.
I mean, there's just,
training on
there's
stuff
so
like that.
much, so, you know,
It's a long weekend.
that's just my thought.
All right. And then 2026 goal setting, again, I'm going to bring in someone independent to kind of facilitate that for us. I think that includes our administration. We'd like them there for that piece of it. We can talk about like who we want
Sure.
all come in. So that's, I think we'll take our full 6 hours. I mean, there's a lot to go over there. So we'll find the date, we'll find a location, and then I'll get that information out to everybody so we can start planning for it.
Yeah, and I don't think this has to, what I'm going to suggest doesn't have to be necessarily hammered out in that retreat, but what I would love to see, potentially at least for us to discuss, and I alluded to this in an email, is to take the handbook for the board and maybe end up paraphrasing it into a portrait of a Riverside board member,
Yes.
just to kind of have a document that mirrors similar expectations to the staff and the students of the school district.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come away with a 1-pager too for us on
Yeah.
how we're going to operate. But I like your idea of turning it into that.
Yeah, that could be the
portrait.
one, that same
Yeah.
concept, sure.
Yeah, perfect. All right, next is open office hours. Mr. Rossi?
Oh, that was me too, sorry. I had a huge list.
You did.
We haven't had, I don't sleep, I'm sorry. We haven't had some really good conversation at the board table in a really long time, and so I think that's the reason for so many topics being brought out, like, that we have so much old business and new business. And I know that we had talked about when we campaigned or whatever, there, some of us had talked a lot about having communication with the public, communication with the staff, communication with different interest groups, and how we could facilitate that. And I know that at one of our local trustees meetings, they have open office hours prior to a meeting. And I thought that maybe that would be a really helpful way to facilitate some conversation with the public. That we could, on a rotating schedule, have people who would come in, 2 board members, say, come in and before the board meeting, and just have open office hours so that anybody from the public who wants more than 3 minutes of our time, where we don't get to speak to them in return, they could actually have some dialogue with us in times that we would actually be there instead of just on the phone or whatever. And so I thought maybe that would be something that we could consider going forward on a rotational basis, and we could just assign that out or whatever.
Mr. McIntyre? I was wondering if you could give us some insights or thoughts, some sunshine law perspective, some things we need to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think about it a little bit, but I've seen this sort of thing before. I will tell you that just in a general sense that I feel like it works really well if it's like, you know, croissants with Chris. You know,
We like alliteration. We like alliteration, don't we?
Because it's easy for Chris to, in his role as CEO, to say, I feel like I understand where the board is. I can't say for sure, but this is my perception. And as the chief executive officer, I feel as if I can have a dialogue with you based on that information. When you're a board member, it's a more difficult proposition to try to anticipate where your other 4 board members may be on any given issue. So you may find yourself in conversations that require you to perhaps make some assumptions about where you feel your fellow board members are on an issue. And then maybe later find out that they're not really where you thought they were. So effectively it requires you to be almost like a spokesperson for the whole board, which on many topics I think is feasible. But on a lot of other topics it's probably not feasible. So I think it's possible to do it. I would say though that you would have to establish some pretty clear ground rules, some expectations with the people that show up, and that have a lot of questions. Now, if you're just taking in information and then sort of channeling the person or their information to the right area, which could be the board table for future discussion, I think that's a great function for a board member to do and makes perfect sense, and I don't see any sunshine law issues with that. I'm more concerned about that former situation that I first mentioned where you would be maybe called upon to take a position on something before the full board has had a chance to consider it. And you may say to yourself, well, that's not a terrible situation. It just depends how the board perceives their options after information is put out into the community that may feel like it limited your ability to take a different position on something. Sometimes it's when you find yourself in these situations, it would be ideal to solicit questions from your members of your community and talk about it in a venue like this where all 5 of you are together. it's not as spontaneous and it doesn't feel maybe as responsive to your community as you're, I think, hoping to be with this kind of a program. But I've seen other districts try it, and they take a certain portion of their meeting and they just said, hey, we got 5 really good questions, and now we're going to spend some time talking about them as a group, where you have the benefit of hearing each other's ideas, each other's thoughts, concerns. Your administrative team has the ability to participate in that dialogue, and it's a really, I think it's a really good practice. But, you know, to your point, Belinda, you want to sort of develop this grassroots kind of responsiveness and availability. So I'd love to try to brainstorm it with you and share my ideas on how to manage it from a boardsmanship standpoint. So that's a long answer to a short question.
Would you us to, like you said, you know, some districts that have done this and have experience doing this, just to have a discussion, maybe 1 or 2 people, just to see how they structure it, you know, how they avoid, you know, maybe some of the pitfalls you said, or making assumptions. Just, you know, whether there's some way of going about it that might be beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to go into, there's lots of different forums that I've seen, and I think some things work better than other things. I think though that you have to allot for the fact that this is about trying to be as responsive to your community as you can be, and so a lot of it comes down to the community expectation. So if there's something specific here that may not exist elsewhere, I think it's worth trying to find that thing that you know, that mechanism that you feel will best serve the community where it is right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm available.
Maybe we could talk about it at the board retreat. I just feel like we talk about accessibility. We talk about, you know, how can members of the community reach board members to have conversations. And you have a conversation at a basketball game or wrestling meet or whatever, but it's not a formal conversation really. And as long as administration is present, so you can refer, I mean, and there's some ground rules to it. I would just like us to have some conversation on how that could look and how that could work. Members of the community want to be engaged for more than 3 minutes.
I know this is just the beginning, open part of that discussion, but I'm 1,000% for something like this. I did something similar in my campaign. Granted, I was able to speak freely, so I understand the parameters you're mentioning, and I think that would make sense if we're there more of a listening capacity than a speaking capacity, and the appropriate people are there. I feel that it can be done in a way with the parameters that you mentioned and that you're suggesting as well.
I would agree. I think that we need to, when we called them coffees with Chris, they were great. I think they were good turnouts, but I think even more different areas of accessibility, whether we do, and I mentioned like a lunch with leaders Zoom type hour. I know Dr. Thompson used that before, and Louise like and kind of pushing with that. I don't know what that looks like in the legalities behind it and who can join, but I think that would be a benefit to provide something like that, where maybe it's a sign up and we send out a Zoom link to those people who sign up to say, here's the link right before, come on and jump in, ask your question. We'll have candidate come. I love those conversations. I think those conversations really go where they are kind of unscripted. People ask the real questions. They get some of the time. We put an agenda together, so at least it's a topic that you may be interested in, and we have the right people in the room at the time. But over your lunch hour, we could schedule some of that from a administrative standpoint. But I think the board presence as well. I think there's two purposes to it. I think it's getting people into not only hear from, you know, administration, but then also to have direct access to their elected board members. I think both can work. I think they can look different at the same time, but I think they're both critically important to moving forward and achieving the work that we want to have done.
And I think this goes into your next new business topic also, Ms. Grassi, which was new committees. So again, maybe this is all kind of combined together. There was a suggestion of like a staff committee, a community engagement committee, and a student engagement. Maybe we figure out what's the best way to approach those three things, whether it's open office hours or through the administration, but explore that a little bit more and come back and bring those ideas to the table.
I think it would be really awesome.
I think some of those committees, I would recommend actually having those be superintendent committees with a board member representative or a liaison
Like a
instead of
liaison?
a board committee. Just because then we can have some true conversation in closed doors, which is sometimes a little better than trying to be something that's.
And I think we had alluded to earlier in meetings in the fall that it's important for people to be able to come and have conversation with board members freely without repercussion, without having any, worry about who's sitting at the table that affects my job. So I'm trying to choose my words carefully, right? Like it's important that people be able to come, our staff be able to come and have a conversation with the board member that they don't usually get to have, or tell you what some of their issues are. Not that I want to have major gripe sessions, because that's not what I am anticipating and that's not what I want it to be. I would like it to be some open dialogue about what people in our buildings actually think about how they run and how they work and what are their real problems, and we don't get to hear that without.
I do.
Well, I get it. You do. You guys get to hear it, but we don't get to hear it, and we only get to hear it through your lens. And I feel like that is not the appropriate lens to hear it from sometimes. I think we need to hear it from the people who really want to tell it to me, not to you, and then you tell it to me how you choose to. Actually having the words come from somebody else, it sounds different. And I made that a focus of my campaign. That was important for me to say, no, I value that, and we never get an opportunity to do that unless I see somebody out at an event, right? And I don't have kids in the district anymore, so I am not at events all the time. So I feel like we need to do that. We need to do it. So however we need to make it work, I think we need to explore it in some way, shape, or form. I also believe that down the road, it furthers our relationship with the people that we represent out there in the community. It furthers our relationship with our staff and allows them to be able to trust us in a way that we haven't been able to do previously, and I think that's important.
So, Ms. Grassi, are you, do you want to work on, with Mr. McIntyre and Dr. Rotino kind of figure something out, or do you want me to work with them and bring back some ideas?
I don't want to do anything, no, just Yes, but I also think we should have some conversation at our board retreat about what we want those to look like and what groups we want to try and reach.
So as our 2026 goals.
Right, like if we want to have rotating groups, this month we're going to do staff, this month we're going to do students, like however we want it to look, we should come up with some plan, because I don't think it's just a one and done type of a thing. I think it should be an ongoing, forever type of a thing.
Okay.
So
I will make a note of that. All right.
Please tell me I'm done. Like
No.
none of the rest of these are.
So
done,
your
are
next
they?
one, the next one, and this is a combination of a couple different things from a couple different people, but I combined them together because I think what it comes back to is we all know we're levy eminent, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Just want to make sure nothing changed, right?
You'll hear further evidence of it shortly.
Okay, so the next new business was really levy readiness, like staffing controls and cost containment. After reading through all the comments for new business that were sent to me, I would like to recommend that we ask Dr. Thompson and Dr. Rotino to return with kind of a written plan or ideas on how we make sure that we're looking at the right things, or what's going on today in the district, so that we can start making some decisions. Is everybody okay with that? And we might get some of it today, it sounds like.
You will.
Okay. So there were specifically things like staffing baselines and controls, cost containment options, levy planning readiness. I know recently some of our neighbor districts have recently made some very major cuts to the east of us, I've been hearing. So I think it's important that we get ahead of this and we start really taking a look at what we need to do. Is there anything in here, again, staffing baseline and controls, cost containment options, and levy planning readiness. Those are three things.
Mr. Byers and I did talk about this a little bit in personnel, and Mallory did provide an update on, possible retirements, resignations, and that included certified and classified exempt staff. And, having worked through that last year, looking at what's needed, it's like reshuffling. Some people want to move here, but we may not need to have somebody replaced, and what the cost savings are in that. And so that process is just starting, correct? Keeping track of this,
We are,
having
as you get
discussions.
retirements, and we have a process we go through to see if we need to actually refill that spot or backfill that spot, or can we do it with something else?
Right.
Can we look to do a lot of attrition, reduction through attrition, and last year's to a little over $1 million. I think the issue we run into is we're playing against a moving target. So we've cut $1 million, and then we had an $800,000 healthcare assessment in the middle of the year. Then, okay, now we're back, and all of a sudden we have the double rollback, which is going to hit us to another million or so. So we take one step forward and it's two steps back. So part of this is really truly, yes, we can make our recommendations and all that. I think it's part of it's out of our control and our hands, and I mean, it's also getting that word out that we are doing absolutely everything we can and the best that we can, and being fiscally responsible, and this is how lean we are, and we need people to run schools and to run schools effectively.
I think we need to be more, we need to stop soft pedaling around the verbiage that we use. We're going to have to ask for money, but why are we going to have to ask for money? Have we really, really done our job at cost containment? And so I sit back sometimes and I think, I don't know, is every want that we want, is it a need? Like, we hear things at committee meetings and I say, really? Like, I don't know. And then it comes to the table and we really don't talk about it, but we just approve stuff, or we approve staff hirings or new additions or whatever. And we have not really talked about, do we need everything? And I know that at our facility meeting, Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, not to pick on the maintenance staff, but I had asked a couple of questions, and it led me down the path of, I would like to see a staffing model of what our staff is, how many people we have in departments, where they're assigned, because I remember a time in 2011 when we didn't have people. We had nobody, and I realized that was way on this end of the spectrum, but now I feel like, I don't know, now we're way over here, and there's got to be a middle ground, and we have to sell that to the community. We're going to have to sell levy dollars in one way or shape or form to the community, and we need to do a better job of saying, no, we've looked at all that. I don't believe we've looked at it because I haven't seen it, because I look at some things and I was like, wow, really? We're that far over here already? That's interesting to me. How did that happen? Right? So we really need to have some conversation around that. I asked Mallory to provide some of that at some point, so hopefully she'll be able to do that. It should be, you already have it. I'm sure you already have it, right?
And in finance and personnel, and Jimmy Lee, if you want to jump in here, but we did have some discussion about things that our treasurer is doing with the building budgets and things like that. Don't want to take away your fire, but all good stuff. And then also, because we made a big change with our insurance, our health insurance, we're going to have to look at what kind of savings are we getting out of that, because then,
It's new.
Because that was the intent, was to save major dollars with that new program.
But, and then I just want to bring this out in the open also, is we have communities now who are doing their own education campaigns on the abolition of property taxes and whatever, and I look at that information and I think, oh, some of that information is really interesting. I believe we have to change the narrative of how we speak to the community about where we get our money. We talk about the general fund. I had a township trustee ask about like our dollars, because I had made a comment that, and I had to explain myself, And I did, but I did so in terms of, you know, we only run our organization on 50% of the dollars that we get in property tax money is what we actually spend. We have, and the question was, really, your budget is that large? And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, if you look at all the funds that we spend money in, our budget is that big. But people don't know that because they only see the 5-year forecast, and we frame everything that we talk about the 5-year forecast. And I believe we need to step away from that and start telling our community that we actually spend almost $75 million, not $50 million. And where is that money coming from? Not all of that is property taxes, and people think they see their property tax bill and they have this pie chart out there, I'm just telling you, and it says 49.6% of the dollars go to the school. Well, yeah, but if you look at all the communities that we collect money from, they're probably in sum total, collecting more money than we are. So we need to reframe how we discuss this with our community so that they actually start to understand we are not taking all of their money. We're not, and we are actually being very responsible with how we spend their money. And so it's just a big deal for me. Like, the way that we frame how we speak gives people impressions that are not necessarily true.
Yeah. So what I took from the new business, again, and I'll send this to Dr. Thompson and Dr. Rotino from what was sent to me, staffing baseline and controls, certified and classified, so that includes like department location, staffing map, recommendations on hiring controls. And then the second one is cost containment options, so identify reduction, curtailments, downsizes that protect core operations, establish need versus wants decision criteria. And then the last one is levy planning, and so data collection plan, timeline, decision points, communication. So I think that all fits within what we're kind of looking for you guys to pull together for us, and we can start having those discussions, because we know they're gonna happen. So I'll send those things that came through in the new business from the board members, so you know kind of what they're looking for.
Sounds good.
There's no wrong answer to this question. I'm just curious. In the goals that you were given, Dr. Thompson, is there a cost reduction goal, maybe basis points or full percentage points? I'm just curious if that was a part of it.
I don't believe it was structured as that formally, but for example, one is new initiatives that we institute. What's the ROI on that? So, you know, if we spend, I don't know, $500,000 on a software program, I think the paramount question is, you know, what's the purpose in it? And well, I assume the purpose is to improve student achievement in some form or fashion. How do you measure that? How do you quantify that? And is it actually making a difference? Because if it doesn't, that's a $500,000 cost. But when I get to my section, I'll talk a lot about what we're trying to do, and Chris and I are working together on that to try and rein in our costs. But one of the proposals that will be on the board agenda in February is a software that I've had prior access to. We already have parts of it, suites of it, Frontline. But they have a section that used to be called Forecast 5. Now it's just part of Frontline. But the data that can be at my fingertips, the data that can be at Chris's fingertips, the board for that matter, all these things of, there's just a lot of assumptions out there. You spend too much money on administration. Well, is that true or is that not true? There's a section in Forecast 5 called, it's called Financial Analytics. And I can line up, for example, do we have, in like districts, do we have more administrators than everybody else? Do we have less administrators than everybody else? You know, I pulled the data, there's a cap, you can't spend more than 15% on it, of your total budget on administration. We're at like 7.5, 7.6%. We're well below that. But there's always this perception in the community that you're overstaffed. Usually an early target is administration. But this software will instantly tell us and give us a real, and I can even, in analytics, we can compare salaries. Our a 10-year teacher and a 10-year teacher over here, what do they make? Superintendent here, superintendent there, treasurer here, treasurer there. We can glean a lot of data that I think will help us make reductions and do what we need to do. But I will tell you this, no matter how much you cut, no matter how fiscally responsible you are, the system is guaranteed to put you back on the ballot. It's guaranteed. There's no way around it.
What is that, House Bill?
House Bill 920.
I've seen
Just
that
checking.
software, and it is really,
You like
it's
it?
cool.
It's super
I think
cool.
one of the things, even for our benefit from it, is it has a live births or birth cohort survival. So it takes the births in the area versus, and they call it a survival rate, so how many of those go to kindergarten? So we really look at, okay, are we getting, what is your percentage rate? Usually it's around 90% or so, but if it's higher, that, like when you look at a school district like Olentangy, who's the fastest growing in the state, their survival cohort rate's like 150%. So that means that people are moving in there to go to the school. So you can really look at that. That is really critical at a time when we have the potential to get a large development in. As we start to see some of those influxes, we can really plan out to say, well, we are having an issue, and we can do some of that. The other thing that it does is it does really benefit with large tasks like a redistricting, which we know as part of this is eminent. Just like we're levy eminent, we're redistricting eminent as well. And I think that's a part where we'll help with that and really kind of look at zip codes and addresses and that kind of vote force and really help you assist that. And I've not seen it yet since AI has become so predominant. I can't imagine to see what it does with AI. I'm guessing that I'm sure they've got that component worked into it. But to do that, to really make our efficiencies work so much better too, I think it does provide a lot of those information as well. And it's just, I mean, to have that data and to know how to use it, I think is the second part.
And it's not hard. It's pretty, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But for example, it'll give us an overlay of our district. And in a scattergram, it'll show us where all school-age students are, even if they don't go to our school. And it can tell you where the pockets of population are. It'll also give us birth rate by sections in the communities, by Leroy or by Concord or what. And what will probably, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see. In my previous district, it was significant reduction in birth rates. So when you have all these huge birth rate declines, you're going to have less students, right? It doesn't take a PhD to know that. Conversely, if your birth rates are higher, then it just allows us to plan. It'll feed into our facilities plan. We need a long-term facilities plan that needs to be done. We know that. And it'll help us, as Chris talked about, redistricting. So that scattergram alone will help us change boundary lines or whatever we need to do, depending on what that final outcome is in terms of redistricting. As you build more classrooms here, more classrooms at Buckeye, what's the future of Melrit, on and on and on and on. So that'll help us do all of that from a educated perspective.
And thank you for that. And the reason why I was asking if there was a goal, I think there's a big difference, and this isn't a critique of our school district, but I think there's a big difference in having a cost reduction goal versus a goal of cost reduction. Mm-hmm. Meaning, do we have a tangible goal or can we come up with one? And I think as we head towards that, being eminent towards being put on a ballot, being able to tell the public, here's been our cost reduction goal year over year, and that goal could, hypothetically, let's say it's 5% year over year, that we can go to the community and say, we've hit this goal 2 years running now, we're striving towards year 3, and here's the things that we've done to get us to that number.
Yeah. I think the great challenge with that, I understand that concept, but for example, we cut $1 million, I shouldn't say we, prior at Chris, they reduced $1 million off of our reductions are, there's a limit to it. There comes a point where, I mean, if we could set a goal and say, we're gonna cut $1 million every year, and by God, we could do it. Now, you might have 35 kindergartners, but I could get us there. But is that the kind of school district you want? Sure. And I think that's where the real challenge comes. I think we need to, and another thing that we can do if we choose to, I've done it at a previous district, the state will do an independent audit, not of our books, but of how we're spending our dollars. I could do a lot of that on Frontline. Back then, I didn't have that, so there was no way to do it. But we can, I think what we have to do is say, this is the quality of education we want to put to the community. This is the staffing levels that it's going to take to realistically maintain those programs. Because when you slash too far, what do parents, especially parents who have means, what do? They take their students out, and you never get them back. And I'm painting a broad brush here, but very often those are your best test takers, et cetera, et cetera. So not only are you reducing our state share, we're probably creating a no voter for eternity, or very likely, and we're negatively impacting our test scores, and then people come back and say, well, geez, look at your test scores, we're wasting our money sending it your way. So while I agree with what you're saying, I think it's also important, really important for us to educate people that, just as Mrs. Grassi was saying, how we frame it and what we say to people really matters for them to understand. You know, for example, we do get the lion's share or a large share of property tax. But do they know that income tax, we don't get any? When cities talk about that often, those that have income tax, they don't mention income tax. They just talk about how all the money goes to the school. All the money let's make the schools the villain. When in fact, they're sitting back there pulling in, I don't know, $6 million in income tax that they just keep hush-hush about. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics that are going on here, but I think by spring we'll be able to truly give this board a true assessment of, do we have fat or do we not have fat? I think we can get there. And then secondly, what are we willing, how far are we willing to go? How far is this board willing, you know, what ratio are you comfortable going to? How dirty do you want your buildings to be? Because that's the next thing, you know, a lot of times you circle the wagons around the classroom teachers and you cut all these extra things, right? And then your buildings are dirty, or they're not maintained, or we say we're not going to invest in those buses, and then we get drilled 3 years later because we got to buy 7 buses, you know. So, you know, I've been down this road a lot, many times, and it's tough to do. It's tough to be in because the system simply has structured itself so that we're heavily dependent since 1976 on the will and vote of the people. And that's the bottom line. Can we do better financially? I'll give you a straight up answer, full transparency to you and the entire community in the spring. And Chris and I'll tag team on that. Yeah. But you know, what I've seen so far, I don't see a lot. I see some issues with how we can tighten some things up. And I think tightening those things up will save us some dollars. But, you know, we just took $800,000 in health insurance and $1.2 million in rollback right off of us. $2 million bucks. You know, that's tough for a district with a $50 million general fund budget to absorb.
Yeah, and just to clarify, thank you for that. I'm just suggesting that maybe we consider having a tangible goal. I don't want to swing the pendulum so far that it would impact the experience or the outcome of students and teachers and faculty. I'm just suggesting that if maybe we had some kind of number goal, it might help us when it comes to cascading to the community what we have done.
I absolutely think that we will do that, we will do that. And, I ask us all to keep in mind, when that administrator says, I need this teacher or this aide, or Rich says, I need an HVAC guy, I can't keep up, or whatever it might be. And they wouldn't bring those to us if they didn't really feel like, that doesn't mean you green light every one of them. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying that
That's what you think.
they wouldn't come to us
They didn't need it.
if they didn't feel like they really needed
Well,
it.
and I think we do operate on it, because I'll give you the example of the lecture room at the high school. We looked as part of the CTE project, to put heat and air in the lecture room because it hasn't had it. And it was, I believe, the bid that we had to do that part of it was, I want to say 70,000, 60,000. Rich's crew came to us and said, give us a shot. And that room is now, we have students in it all the time now, so it's an occupied schoolroom. It now has heat and air conditioning in it. I think we did it for under 20,000 or right under $10,000.
Nice.
So by using the expertise and trusting our people, I think is a great thing in some cases. Now, we can't do that for the cafeteria, but we can do it for certain areas, and we can take areas, and I think that's where we really do rely on. But those aren't dollars that we show as, hey, this is a win or a save. Maybe we do need to broadcast that a little bit more and tell that story that look what we did to this facility. And I think I will say that we do not brag about our wins enough. In some cases where we do what we do because that's what we've done, but we don't come out and say, look how much we saved, and look what we did. But we did what was best for kids, and now those kids have a better learning environment for significant cost savings.
And I would tell you also to keep in mind, when I went to school, when most of us were in school, it was the only real option was public school. There might have been a Catholic school somewhere kind of sprinkled around, but it was just everybody went to the public school. It's a totally different environment now. We're in this is very competitive field now. Many options and choices for parents. And things like facilities, for example, matter. They matter to people. If you were to get transferred to Indianapolis, Indiana, and you're trying to figure out where you're going to buy a house and you've got 3 kids, you're going to be very interested in that community schools, what they have to offer. My kid's a swimmer. Oh, you don't have a swim team? Well, we can't go to school here. Those things matter because keeping our best and keeping our students that live in our district is crucial. And we're losing a lot of money from kids that are going to private schools. Now, we can't get them all, but I'd like to get a chunk of them back.
All right, so just to keep us moving.
Yeah, well, yeah, you shouldn't let me talk.
So I'll send the information, kind of what everyone's looking for, allow you guys to put it together. It sounds like spring is probably a goal for when we could get a kind of in-depth report back and help us with our discussions. So next was public comment, board policy. Mr. Audino?
Yes, this is new business now?
Yeah, we're on new business,
We're on
yep.
number 5 in new business.
Got it. Oh, sorry, yes.
We are rolling.
Yep, we're moving. Yes, so I just wanted to have a dialogue, and maybe we could do this in our retreat, but specific to public comment, the policy, and for those of us that are here, the policy is 0169.1, the public comment section. Sections A, D, and E, which I can quickly read here in a second, I feel are either need to be clarified, maybe amended, tweaked a little bit, and I'll give you my point of view. So Section A of public comment says, public participation shall be permitted at the discretion of the presiding officer. And no offense to you as the presiding officer, we maybe could see historically that there's been times where that policy has been picked and choose when we want to follow it, and I see that some other school boards, including in Lake County, have policies that allow the board to vote on changing that in the moment. And I think if we have to vote to take a recess, which by the way we have to vote to take a recess, I think that perhaps we should look at do we vote to limit public participation in a meeting? Especially when there's no specific policy as to when we would limit public participation. I don't know, if, Mr. McIntyre, you have an opinion on that matter?
I do, and I'd like to, if I could just hear the rest of your comments.
Sure.
I wouldn't be able to respond to them in total.
Okay, great.
I suspect they're overlapping.
Yep. And then policy D says, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3-minute duration unless extended by the presiding officer. I'm not suggesting it has to be the opposite of that. I just think that's extremely vague to say 3 minutes duration unless extended by the presiding officer. I've been to many board meetings in the school district that I've never seen them extended. So I don't know, maybe if we want to clarify a situation when they would be extended, or maybe provide at least a handful of examples of when we'd extend them. And then the third one is E. It says, during the portion of the meeting designated for public participation, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. That's a policy I was unaware of as a public participant, and I've never seen us execute that policy. So maybe we could clarify that, amend it, eliminate it.
There was the Notre Dame transportation issue, and we had, at that point, we had people speak more than once on the same.
More than once, okay,
It would-
so it has happened.
That was a long time.
And I'm not suggesting that we get in the habit of letting people do, I know meetings can go till midnight if we do.
Masking.
Yeah, well,
Things
exactly.
like that, yeah.
We have seen recently where people have come with the policy printed and wanted to showcase that maybe we were or were not following we were maybe finding ourselves in a gray area. So I think D and E maybe need to be revisited, and then A, I'm suggesting that maybe we consider changing that to a majority vote needed to execute that specific policy.
I would also suggest that those are kinds of areas that we could have board training on, because not all of us read the policy every day, right? And just saying. And you lose sight of what is actually in the policy. And so having an annual update on, these are some important policies for the board to understand, so that we don't get into those situations where we're actually not following policy. We want to do that. And I know these policies are written by Neola, and we look at them and we approve them, and we're supposed to read them and everything else. But that's a lot of policies. It is a lot of policies. So,
There's a lot coming too.
So, Mr. McIntyre, I don't know if you want to comment now, or if we have our policy committee work with you through Dr. Rattino to make updates, or?
Yeah, I think we need a working session, because I think they're all very good issues, and there's lots of options that are available. So I think if we schedule it as a policy committee agenda item, then we can work through all the different options. I'd be happy to be there.
Yeah, the policy was written 3 months after I was born, just for
get out.
It was.
Okay, wait.
Belinda's looking it up now.
It was.
Okay. All right.
Okay, that just makes me
So
feel
that will
very
go to the
old.
policy committee for further follow-up, please?
Yes, so we'll have to schedule a work session and.
We will. I would. I have heard through the grapevine that the Neola policies are coming out rather soon. So there will be a rather large. I was just at a superintendent conference yesterday where some reference to Neola said they're working to get out their first update. It's going to be quite a robust packet. So I
Yes.
think we will schedule it at some point where we can add this to that.
Okay.
So you will
And then
hear-
we'll involve Dan. 'Cause-
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, so do you want to keep us posted on?
I will. As soon as I get them, I will
on a
send them
date?
to you and then.
Okay,
throw
because
some
I know
links
you've
in.
been waiting.
It takes a
for
little bit of
those.
time to process them.
Right.
But as soon as I get them, I'll get them.
Okay, thank you.
Get something on the calendar.
All right. Ms. Ardina, one more.
One more.
That you started, but I
Yep.
fully agree with it, so I might have some things to add, but go ahead.
Okay, you got it. And I know we just got done talking about cost reduction, so pardon me when I suggest this. But my next item would be that maybe we consider how the logistics of our board meetings in regards to audio-visual. And, I mean, today worked out great, but when we're in the media center or in the board room, it doesn't really lend itself to larger groups. So maybe we can consider a couple options. Maybe, Nick, maybe you're the wrong person. Maybe someone else in the school district can look to see what equipment we currently have that would allow us to microphone the 7 of us plus an 8th microphone for a guest speaker / public comment. Or if that's not procurable, maybe we look into buying tabletop microphones that have on-off switches that allow us, and here, everyone can hear us, it's very loud, but in the media wing, we know that could be quite challenging. So just something for us to consider on how we move forward.
Yeah, I think one of the things we have to decide is where we're gonna have our regular meetings at. So, you know, we used to have them in the lecture room, we used to have them in the board conference room, so I think that all matters too, right?
Yeah.
So, I think it's important for us to figure out where those meetings are gonna be held. I think we've noticed the lecture room, and I think we might get back to a point.
We can get back to the lecture room next month. Will be in the CTE wing.
Yeah.
Just as
Special, yeah.
Yep, as a special. But we can get back to that.
Lecture hall typically lends itself better to audio because it's more
It's
like
designed
this.
for
It's
that.
bouncing off the concrete. Media center was tough because it's kind of all one open area, and in some meetings the board was going this direction, but all the audience was over there, and it was all open, so there's nothing. So I get that was not the greatest. Lecture hall, we typically have not had the issues with the audio, and you also, I mean, could fit 100+ people in there.
And Mr. Alesic, you have some, like right now, they're just in the planning stages with what we're doing with the lecture room.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
still a plan.
so what, I don't know what your timeline is, but at some point, if we can't use it, I think it's nice to be able to go around to the different schools.
We used to do that when we used to have work sessions. We used to have a regular work session. Remember when we had those regular, like the second Tuesday or whatever? Yeah, we had 2 meetings a month. And one was a work session, one was a board meeting, and we used to have our work sessions at different schools.
Okay.
So, I mean.
We are. I don't know if I want to make it a regular traveling circus,
Well, I was
but I
just saying-
think that it's something I think we're up to definitely for
I
sure.
went to the high school first.
Today?
Yeah. I pulled in and immediately was like, nope, this is not the right place.
But I mean, it is nice to kind of get out to see the buildings. I think it's a very important thing. I don't know if this is a regular business meeting type thing, but I think for some of our special meetings or work sessions we can schedule, definitely in other places. I think that looking at finding a regular place for board meetings. I know at a point the board conference room was plenty large because there wasn't the people who came to the meetings who kind of started to show up kind of during COVID. And it's become a thing. And I think as we film them and look at options for that, we may get back down to where that room does suit our needs for the most part. And we can look at that.
And in the lecture hall, I agree with you, it is more conducive, especially from an audio lens, but sometimes there are presenters, even in that room, or guest speakers, public comment, that maybe don't project as well. And if that was a way to incorporate it into the camera, then the audio, when someone's watching on YouTube, they'd be able to hear all the speakers. Because sometimes even on the YouTube videos, depending on where they're standing or how quiet they are, the audio is not captured. So
I think a good point, if we move around, we need to make sure audio, that we have the capability to make sure we can be heard, and figure out what that permanent location is and what changes need to be made.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work with tech to see if there's just some portable things we could introduce, and especially when we talk about meeting. It's hard to just have one set area, 7 mics, and you never move them because we're always there, but because we move around a lot, and then, even lecture hall in our meetings there, classes are during the day, so I'll talk with tech to see like what kind of portable options we could maybe introduce.
And I think they take up every inch of that lecture hall when they're using it during the day, so, yeah.
They definitely do.
Yeah.
And they got some great designs on what it can look like. Yeah.
All right, so I have good news. We are done with all the new business for today. So that brings us, I've lost track, hold on
We're on
one
committee
second.
and liaison reports.
Board of Education Committee and Liaison Reports. The first one is Buildings and Grounds, Operations Committee, and Strategic Plan Liaison. Ms. Rossi?
Sure. So we had a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting on the 13th of January. Many of the things that we've talked about here were discussed in Buildings and Grounds. Mr. Alesic had let us know that we had a power outage on the 29th of December, and that Painesville Power worked really, really hard, and our staff worked hard to get that back online really quickly, and so thank you for everybody for that. The lecture room, again, we've already kind of glossed over this a little bit, but now has heat and cooling. So that's really wonderful news, and our own staff did that, so that's great work for them. It's the first time in over 15 years we've had heat and air in that room, so that's really amazing.
Portable heater.
We discussed some staffing for custodial midday at Riverview, the need for that. We talked about the Painesville Township Fire Department came and conducted a walkthrough for all their staff of our campus for getting them familiar with what our buildings look like. They did that. The softball scoreboard was installed on January 14th, so that is done. We have Mr. Olesic is reviewing our vehicle fleet for needs, what we need to get rid of, what we need to keep, and what some of our options are as far as getting some vehicles for the district if we need them, what kind of options we have in, if we get rid of this, do we need to replace it with similar, or should we be looking for something else? So they're taking a look at all that information. We talked about the addition projects, those are already wrapping up. We did have some conversation again when we were talking about the custodial needs at some of our buildings. That's when we brought up the information about what the staffing actually looks like, because I think I for myself, I've kind of lost touch of what that looks like, and so I thought it might be good to get that as an update for everybody at the board table. And then we talked about the lecture room and what the plans are for that, and Mr. Olesic shared that our students have actually come up with some designs for the lecture room, and that to me was pretty exciting, right? And so what those might look like for that room, and I think we had talked about some options and some different things that maybe we had thrown out at the table. Can they take a look at those, and maybe that we would be able to do those options and take care of those things in-house, and what those would look like, and how we could involve some of our students in doing that work there. So more to come on that. I don't think that is committed yet, but that's in the works. So we've talked about that for a really, really long time on what that lecture room would look like. So that's exciting news. And then we just talked about some additional dates. And then we also, we had Mike Purcella, who had actually Zoomed into that meeting for probably half of that meeting time to talk about some information about that he came with and presented this evening, so that we could talk about moving forward with the additions, re-engaging with the people that had stepped back for a little bit of time, and so they're back, and so we had that conversation, and you guys have already done that, so you've moved forward with that, so we're good.
Yeah, I did get a chance to watch that meeting, and you know, it's impressive how the lecture room is coming together. But I know they're involving an engineer, correct? Somebody was going to help with some engineering
Once we get
ideas.
an idea of what direction we want to go, we'll have somebody sign off on it to make sure that we're.
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
at-
that's the only thing I was worried about, is the liability and how it all comes together, and different levels, and handicap accessibility, and all those fun things. Other than the concrete option, Melissa. I know.
Other than that, I don't really have anything. We talked about updating the strategic plan. I think we actually talked about that during the curriculum meeting, not really during the facility meeting, but we've kind of already covered that, so I'm not going to do it again. You're welcome.
All good? All right. Next, Mr. Audino will provide an update to the board on curriculum and programming committee and booster organization.
Yes, thank you. Yep, we had our meeting on January 12th, and Dr. Malarkar walked us through February 9th's Professional Development Day. She and her team have set it up to mirror a similar concept of the student personalized learning. Basically, in that concept, what do students want to get better in? So similar practice, but for the teachers and staff. 25 teachers volunteered to be team leads and help facilitate, do check-ins, monitor progress, trainings and collaborations throughout the second half of the year, which was pretty awesome to hear. And then in regards to student services in relation to the Professional Development Day, Mrs. Ritt shared that she and her team are using the internal monitoring meetings, which are held quarterly, to provide her team with feedback across the district. Second thing we discussed was a construction update, which I won't bore you with because it was a Riverview update, which you saw firsthand. We also discussed the CTE wing, which is, the cliff notes on that is they're doing touch-ups, furniture builds, equipment install. And then next month, it sounds like we might have our meeting there, so more to come on that. Third, we discussed the student experience interviews, which is essentially student focus groups for 4th to 12th graders. The nice thing is it's facilitated by students. In particular, 8th to 12th grade students will help facilitate it with the help of trained staff and supervised by teachers. They will discuss in those focus groups what students like, love, don't like, what they'd love to see more of, and then they're looking for feedback from about 100 kids per grade. Did I have that correct, right?
That's what they're trying for,
That's
yes.
right. The data will be collected from those 100 students per grade anonymously to help shape how we approach student learning going forward. The fourth thing discussed was the Effective Leadership Academy, acronym ELA, which is a third party who helps our students transition from one building to another, elementary to middle, middle to campus, for example. In doing so, ELA provides data back to the administration on wins and opportunities related to confidence levels, program concepts, overall mindsets as they make the change from one building to another. Fifth thing we discussed was a special education update. Mrs. Ritt shared that our rating, which came out in November, was a meets expectations, which is the highest you can achieve despite its lackluster verbiage. But it does mean that this school district has consistently demonstrated compliance and positive outcomes for our students. In December, our preliminary special education profile was released, and Mrs. Ritt was proud to announce, as I am now, that the district met all expectations. We will get the final copy of that in May. Why 5 months from now? I don't know. Must be lost in the mail. That's snail mail at its finest, right? But sincerely, a huge thank you to Mrs. Ritt and her team and the intervention specialists and the teachers who really impact that, and to you and your team in setting up a great professional day. Last thing is preschool registration opens February 9th for new students, whereas there is a priority registration for returning students that already opened up a couple days ago through January 30th. And that is my report.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to Policy Committee Legislative Liaison, Ms. Brewster.
Okay, as it was stated tonight, we're going to plan a work session to go over the plethora of things coming our way. And that's pretty much it with policy, other than right before the break, we did pass some policies that had to do with, I'm trying to remember, they were bus driver, stipulations that, about drug testing and all those kinds of things. So that was all completed already. The other thing that's, as far as the legislative piece, there's going to be a lot that relates to the superintendent, some that relates to the treasurer, so we'll try not to step on toes. But one of the things that I saw about academic interventions, and I know this is on your radar, Ohio Senate Bill 19, would allow public school student who scored below proficient in state assessment tests in math or English language arts to receive academic intervention services at no cost. I mean, our schools are already providing, interventions. We have a lot in place. But where that goes, it says the academic interventions in the bill must be evidence-based, which ours are mostly, I think, and could include high-dosage tutoring, at least 3 days a week, additional instructional time, and extended school year calendar. So that's where it could become more comprehensive. And, we'd have to accommodate that. The bill passed unanimously in the Senate in November, and the bill now heads to the Ohio House for consideration. Ohio Senate, Andrew Butler out of Delaware introduced the bill. So anything or
So
want to say
yeah, interestingly enough, that bill is put in place to correct, some of it is to correct some of the language that came out of the budget. Some of the budget about advanced learning opportunities in math specifically. So they do address some of that in there as to what they look like and spell that out a little bit more. So it's a really definite one to follow to look at what it specifically means and looks like. Once they passed that in the budget bill and how it looked, the ODU kind of came to it and said, this isn't logistically what you want in order to make any sense. Let's take a closer look at it. this hits it as well. It also provides a little bit more paperwork on our behalf. So math improvement plans, like reading intervention and monitoring plans. There's going to be math MIMS now, if you would. And what they're trying to keep all of that up. It's another layer of paperwork and also just compliance, and not necessarily just. I think the tutoring, what that looks like, I'm waiting to see kind of how that comes out. It's one that we're watching when they get back in session.
Okay.
It should be one that the House takes up relatively soon.
All right. And then the other thing, since you explained it the other day, the kindergarten eligibility, how that's changed. So would you like to enlighten us?
I have a slide for that, so I can.
Okay, so you're going to go over it.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So that's all I have for now.
And surely there's dollars associated with the high dosage tutoring and that they're gonna give us to increase our
Yes,
funding?
the
They're gonna take it
unfunded
away.
mandate.
So,
Yeah.
That was
roll those
sarcasm.
back too.
Yeah, I know. Always do this and no money.
All right, next is Superintendent's Business Advisory. So I had the opportunity to attend my first Business Advisory Council meeting in 2026. A lot going on since the last time I attended over a year ago. So really exciting to see everything that's taken shape. First of all, we did get a tour of the CTE space, which is amazing, and can't wait for us to be there next month. But what is really great that's going on, there's some things being developed for different grade levels. So for instance, second grade, there's check out the truck is how you'd say it. Probably coming in the spring, it's going to be for second graders to come and check out big trucks. Who wouldn't love that, right, as a second grader? So I know you're working with the townships, the city, different people in the community. I think Mr. Hillier was interested in getting some of the snow plows over that we paint, things like that, because that brings in then what our high school students are doing also, so which is really great. Fifth grade is career exploration. That's just kicking off, so there'll be more to come on that. Ninth grade is the Future Forward. That is most likely coming in the spring also. Do I have that right? All right. And then 10th grade is a reality tour. Is there a date on that one? I didn't.
Yes, all this in the spring, because
All
these are
spring.
all things are getting done as my swan song.
Okay, all right. And then also we have the 12th grade capstone, which is already in progress, and it's its first year. So we'll be seeing how that works, and yeah. So a lot going on. We do have people from the community involved, entrepreneurs, work for the city, the township. So a lot of different people bringing their perspective and helping us kind of build these things out. So really appreciate that. And that is my update. So that brings us to, thank you, Superintendent's report.
Okay, kind of a lot to report on, and yeah, I know. I'm on call.
No, you're not.
So, first up is, and as we've said a number of times, CTE update. The space is that the furniture is in the space. It's being built by our construction class. So our students are putting the furniture together. We will be there in February to have the meeting and really kind of look at what that space looks like and envision it. But I think it turned out even better than we imagined. And that large area construction room is amazing, and it's going to span more and more. One of the things that we've made some shifts, even in how we're going to spend our equipment dollars. We were looking at a virtual autopsy table for our health careers class, which is a rather expensive piece of equipment if people gather around the table. Dr. Thompson introduced us to a VR company, so we're looking to implementing some VR technologies where our students are putting on headsets and working with that and stuff. It is really neat to see. So once we get those in too, we will hook the board up to it so they can see it as well. It's it's an exciting opportunity. This company is really getting us in on the floor where they want to design programming, and it's not just going to be for like the autopsy tables limited our medical careers classes. They're talking programming for construction of what it's like to work on a 40-foot ladder, and kind of provide some of that experience for some of our classes. For welding, underwater welding and that experience and how that looks, and they can do different things in a VR setting. It's a really neat concept and something that we're really looking to work with this company to expand along the way to kind of use that technology moving forward. So For the cost of the autopsy table, maybe a little less, we're getting the VR sets.
I think we should do show and tell and let the board try it out.
I don't
We
know.
will.
Oh, you will? I think I'd
We
fall off of the
absolutely will.
40-foot ladder.
Well, the first thing they're going to build for us, so we're working with the biology teachers in the healthcare world. They're going to build a program that shows the heart, and you're going to be inside the heart. You'll be able to see where oxygenated blood goes out. You know what I mean? It comes in, you'll be able to see the difference between 2-chamber, 3-chamber, 4-chamber heart. So because that's a pretty easy lift, according to the programmers, we're hoping that we'll be able to pilot that in May with our biology kids. And then we'll grow in. The experience things will take a little bit longer, so that will be a next year thing probably, but they're already working on the first thing for us.
So we've talked about all kinds, the opportunities are really pretty endless and pretty exciting for us. Next up, want a little delay congratulations to our RHS students who signed letters of intent to continue their academic and athletic careers in college. Claire Granchi, who's going to Oakland, Michigan to play softball. Tenley Hammond, who's going to Grinnell College to play softball. Jenna Janisic at Edinburgh for softball. And then Kendall McCaleb, who's going to Wake Forest for football. So really excited about those students and their opportunities that are coming from as they continue their career. Want to mention some of the great community activities that we had. Of course, Halls of Holly it's an awesome activity, along with the Holiday Market Craft Show that came out in December. And thank you to all our campus students who supported that on that snowy afternoon. That really put you in the spirit, but to coordinate and work around those events. They're just great community events that build all of that. As mentioned, preschool registrations for the 26-27 school year will go live on the website February 9th at 9 a.m. That is a very big date. Spaces will be limited, and existing preschool families have priority. Preschool will be located at Riverview in the 4 classrooms that we shared, that we just toured, Monday through Thursday from 8:30 to 11, and then the PM is from 12 to 3. This is a change. Students must be 3 years of age on or before August 24th. Some of the legislation that has come out has changed the date. Our date used to be, I believe it was September 30th. And we have shifted it. The legislation says you have to be the start date by the first day of instruction. So preschool instruction is August 20. We are going with preschool and kindergarten instruction are the 24th of August. It's not the first day of school for all students. It's the first day of instruction for those grades. So there's some work into it. So we are trying to get that information out as much as we can because kindergarten registration is coming up. And that's all part of House Bill 114, which says that kindergartners must be 5 years of age on or before the first day of instruction, which kind of shifts when students can go. Some districts near us had August 1st. We had September 30th, so we would have some 4-year-olds register for kindergarten. Now it is universally the first day that you offer instruction for all kindergartners, so that day will change every single year as we set the school calendar. And it will affect both preschool and kindergarten and actually first grade registration moving forward. There will be policy from Neola, I'm assuming coming up in the next packet to address this because we do have policy currently, so we will be changing our policy as well.
Preschool registration usually goes as fast as the
typical
egg hunt,
preschool
doesn't it?
goes really fast, and then we start to have the lineup.
You know,
after
5
that.
seconds, it's over, like,
Eh,
right?
it's a little bit longer than that, but yeah, it does go pretty fast for our typicals.
There's a waiting list too.
Which is a great thing. And then we get some in the waiting list and all that as it works out. I think at Riverview, we may see some fast, it may go a little bit faster because the rooms are new and the excitement that's around. Riverside softball scoreboard was installed the day before the snow came. So the day before we got all the snow, they got the softball scoreboard in. Again, thank you to the Alumni Association for their generous donation to fund part of the scoreboard. And this does provide us with a sponsorship opportunity. You don't see the ads on it now. We are working with Fulton Sign to create some ads on the sides to provide some sponsorship opportunities for the sides. And then there will be a sign on there commemorating the Alumni Association and thanking them for their donation, but also trying to provide some advertisement for them to drum up some membership as well around that softball. So we're working to kind of see what that looks like as part of our sponsorship program. And that is a prime location because everyone who drives through the campus actually sees that sign, so that those ads are there for them. really exciting moment for our high school. They were recognized as an AP School Honor Roll. That recognizes schools whose programs deliver results for students while broadening participation. We have added AP classes, and we continue to look to provide additional AP opportunity for our students. This year we did graduate a number of AP scholars, or we are graduating a number for the first time. Those are students who scored in both the seminar, research class, as well as a number of AP tests. They scored a 3 or 5, so we're excited about that. This recognition reflects a commitment to increasing our college-going culture, providing opportunities for students to earn college credits and maximizing college readiness. We currently offer 14 AP courses. We are looking at what the opportunities are to expand that if we have teachers who are willing and students who want to take that offer. We did meet today in a fantastic meeting of the district leadership team. We met over at the Woods. The Woods is generous enough to give us the space to meet there. So we had focused on a lot of our goals. We reported out on our committee work that's coming out of our DLT, and it is something truly to brag about and shout about. Our MTSS committee, which is one of the spokes on the Pathway to Excellence, they shared their amazing gains across the district as to how they're moving kids from one tier to the next and kind of increasing their competency. We talked about our instructional rounds committee, what that looks like, and getting people into classrooms. We did focus on the portrait of a Riverside Beaver, what that looks like, and how we can express that and share that out in our classes, and what those look like at different grade levels, what those traits look like at different grade levels. So it was a great day of work, and really kind of got our teacher leadership and built upon our capacity to lead. I was a very small part of this. Dr. Malacher and our curriculum and special ed supervisors really ran the show. So it was a great time. And anything where I don't talk as much is always a good thing. Mark your calendars, the spring musical Between the Lines, Thursday, March 12th, Friday the 13th, and Saturday the 14th. Again, the senior appreciation dinner will occur again at 4, with the show beginning at 5. So we are excited to offer that for our seniors. Please register ahead of time for those watching. Please make sure you register ahead of time with Mrs. Poggi for that. The annual Easter egg hunt is Saturday, April 4th. It's at the front lawn, and it's from 12 to 12:01. We may stretch it out by doing these staggered start like we did last year, where we walked across to kind of help that go. But that's a great opportunity for our PTA to get back. Hopefully, we won't have snow this year, and we'll have a great time. The Easter Bunny and I think the Beaver will be there again, making their appearances as well for some pictures with those groups. And January is Board Member Appreciation Month. We did not have the picture of the collective board because we just got it today. So I want to thank all of you for your dedication, your time and effort you put into making our school district the best it can be. This work is thankless for sure. And it does not go unnoticed and is truly appreciated. As a part of that, we have a couple of appreciation gifts. The first is, one of the things that we noticed and we had some requests for is the next One Community Pursuing Greatness and Getting Better Every Day shirts. And we would like the board to pick that. So what you have in your packet is a voting form. And these are, I asked our students in our business class to come up with some designs to capture that. We're going to make this available to the public, but you will be the first to get the very first run of these. The 3 on the top or on your left are the designs for the front, capturing the We Are Riverside theme. The 3 on the back are the ones capturing the One Community Pursuing Greatness and Getting Better Every Day. If you would check one front and one back for your selection, we will tally those votes. Yeah, but don't share off your neighbor, and I will come and collect them.
Do I get the vote?
Yes.
All right.
You get to vote.
You folded.
Folded into 4s as well.
Oh, folded into 4s?
No, I'm just.
Oh. I didn't want to play the game.
Belinda cheats.
I cheat. I don't cheat.
Thank you.
Also, you do have some homework.
Oh, you missed one.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. You do have some homework as well. The other part that our business class is working on is we are now offering Riverside vests.
Oh.
So We are trying to get this customized more into the cupola and not necessarily the beaver if we can. That logo, we're trying to get that. But over here are sizes for you to try on. We did not, I've learned, don't guess sizes. So, so there are sizes to try on before you leave tonight, so you can give us your sizes so we can get you your own Riverside vest as well as a thank you for all of the hard work you do for us.
I wear a youth medium, so I hope you have it.
Youth meeting.
You and Dr. Thompson both. So,
Seriously.
thanks for that. That concludes my report.
Sometimes
Thank
don't
you.
even sizes.
All right. Brings us to exciting part of the evening. It's going to be our Finance, Audit, Personnel Committee, and Alumni Association update. Mr. Byers?
Okay, we had our first finance meeting on Tuesday. If anyone was concerned with Rotino's dedication, he had us come in on a snow day. And then he mocked us with the snow day hoodie.
It's true.
Did it say snow day?
Yeah.
Riverside Snow Day.
Oh, yeah, it
the
did.
students gave it to my first year.
I like that. Sweet.
At the end.
So Chris shared some positive news regarding the health insurance switch. The negotiations and transfer went well. Chris noted a significant uptick in voluntary life insurance participants that was taken advantage of via open enrollment. The district is introducing 2 new club sports, girls flag football, but you said that was actually a continuation.
So we've had that before.
Yeah,
So this is the 3rd year, I believe.
And boys volleyball, and our girls varsity volleyball coach is going to volunteer to coach that, correct? So we want to say thank you to her. Mallory gave a personnel update. She provided a list of people retiring and or resigning. And I think we will touch on that a little bit later, but I just wanted to say a quick thank you to all of our retirees for their dedication to enhancing the lives of Riverside students. And again, thank you and congratulations.
We have some big ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
She also shared that we have 3 non-CDL trainees to become future bus drivers. So that's awesome for us because we know how hard they are to come about. And our nutritionist is to provide another member to the Fairport cafeteria team.
And that is all self-funded by that program.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you did say
So that's
Right.
At this time, I don't have anything to report on the Alumni Association, but contact has been made and communications are open, so we'll have something next meeting. And then Steve provided a budget process handout. He's looking to clear some stuff up with the budget process and talked about some controls. And I'll let him talk about that since I know how much he likes to talk.
I'll spell that twice.
I have a handbook, it'll tell you what to do. We put together,
Oh, I'm just sorry, one moment. Are you done with your update?
I am done with my update, yes.
All right, so go ahead.
Can I ask one question? When we talked about the booster organizations, I know we had talked about kind of getting a handle on what our athletic boosters are, because we are pretty good with our PTOs.
We are still
and our
working on
PTA.
trying to
Yeah,
get
like
who
we-
has what booster groups
Right.
and who's in charge of what. and
I want to
getting
keep
them-
that on the radar
We
so
are-
that we can
yes.
add them to the agenda of how we communicate with them, so.
Yes.
And I did fail to mention that in my report, the second half, the booster, we're picking a date in February. Miss Kalen and Nick and I and Dr. Martino, we're trying to find a date where we all can meet for the first time. So no update
For
there
our
quite
meeting,
yet,
yeah.
but
Great.
more to come.
All right. Sorry.
You're good?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good.
Your turn. So now it's our treasurer's update.
so we're putting together a handbook that will step by step let the whether it's a building principal or department leader know what their roles and responsibilities are, and then each step with due dates in terms of developing a building budget. I want them to have say in the building budget. So for example, we'll take every line item and we'll do a 3-year look back. So we'll have a good understanding of what they have, at least what their historical spend is, but we're going to sit down with them also and go through it, make sure that everything that we're spending is necessary. And then if they know of a large expenditure coming that we might not know about, maybe there needs to be a new roof, maybe there's a curriculum adoption, something that would skew their budget. We want to budget for it up front, and then those folks are going to be held accountable for staying within their budget. So I won't hesitate to reject a purchase order if they don't have money in the accounts. So we need to really tighten that piece up. So they'll get that, and they'll get a training session, and then credit cards. There's a lot of credit cards that are out there. They're all going to get brought back in. There are reasons for a credit card, and there are circumstances that would dictate the use of a credit card, but they're going to have to come to central office, sign it out, fill out the form of why they want the credit card. They go out, whatever they use that credit card on, it has to match. There has to be funds in that account that they're charging that off against, and then they have to bring the credit card back with their receipts, because we go long periods of times without people bringing in receipts, et cetera, et cetera. It's just very loose, and we do a lot of Amazon purchases. And again, not that you can't use Amazon, and we're not saying that, but what we are saying is there has to be money in the account that you're using to qualify or pay for the purchase of this Amazon. So in other words, don't order on Amazon and then send us the bill. No, you've got to create a purchase order, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then we're going to cut back on, and this one was the suggestion of Rich. He doesn't want those large blankets of dollars given to him. So the blankets, we're going to knock those back. So, there might be $300,000 in this particular line budgeted for a variety of things, but we would normally issue a huge blanket and they could just spend off of it. But we're going to reduce those to try and, if we can save $25,000, let's save $25,000. If you do that a few times, and you have a material number. So we're going to work through all of that and start that process in the next, really about the next week or so. And then in February, I'll make sure you all have these handbooks in the process. And all of it will be on one Excel spreadsheet that we can easily monitor, and then each leader will get a building budget update sent to them monthly, letting them know how much money they spent and how much they have left.
How many credit cards do we have?
Over 20.
A lot more than that, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the wild, wild west.
It doesn't have to be. I mean,
It's not going to be.
There are software packages out there that, again, and they're inexpensive. Trust me, because we use them iOffice, and we have over 65 credit cards out there that people can use to automatically produce their receipts and their expenses and whatever. It doesn't mean you don't have to get a purchase order.
You talking virtual
No,
cards?
not virtual cards.
Okay,
They're
okay.
actual credit cards, but like Concur,
Yeah.
right? Like, and businesses use it, and maybe it's just worth a conversation, because it's really, really easy.
I would love to learn about it.
And it's
yeah.
really cheap. Like, you can negotiate a really low rate if people only submit once a month.
I would like to
Yeah.
get together with you and learn how to
It would
do
be
that.
really helpful. It doesn't negate that they have to get a purchase order for their stuff,
Yeah.
but
No, anything we can do to be,
you work with your bank, and it automatically feeds the data.
I'm
into
sure
the
there's some
software. It's really
great tools out there
it
that
is
we
really
just
great,
don't
so.
know about.
I
So
think
that'd be
you
great.
use
Thank
it.
you.
Yep. I think Joe uses it.
Concur, yep.
Yeah.
I use
like,
Concur.
Do you?
I mean, I haven't
It's
had
called
it working
Incur.
on.
Concur, C-O-N-C,
Concur.
yeah.
Okay.
And there's an app.
You've
Yeah,
heard
it
of
has
that?
an app. It's,
Okay.
Very user-friendly.
yes.
You can take a picture of your receipt right there and
Upload it.
upload it
Ba-boom.
immediately.
Yeah, it's really,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, it's lovely.
That
The
would be
bank
good.
feeds the information right into your software.
Yeah,
And
ours
then-
ties into SAP.
Okay.
Yeah, it uses
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Ties into also, yeah.
It's downloadable.
All right.
And then,
Yeah.
okay, can you give me a click?
I sure can.
Sorry.
And so this is just, this, remember, is through month end December 31st, 2025. It covers, and the detailed report is uploaded. So you have that, but if you don't, I did make some copies if you want the detailed report, if you haven't gotten comfortable on board docs yet. But we are investing our money, and that's critical. The total investments are $27.22 million, and you can see the yields there. They're still not bad on Star and Red Tree. So we are making money and funneling that back into the general fund. So in general fund, beginning balance, 20.6 million, and current balance is 19 million, and current unencumbered balance, and this is the important part, $13.73 million. So fiscal year to date revenues are at 25.15 million. That's 52% of what we forecasted, so we're pretty good. That's pretty spot on. Property taxes and state funding performance, they're performing and coming in pretty much as we had forecasted and expected. Our expenditures are at 28.11, which is about 49% of what we appropriated. Again, that's pretty darn good. And of course, salaries and benefits remain the largest cost driver and always will, because that's what we do. We're a service industry. So 84% of our budget is paying for staff and health care. And then here's where it starts to really paint the picture of where we're heading. And this is the deficit spend is in large part due, 2 million of it is healthcare and rollback. And if we hadn't hit healthcare and rollback, to your point earlier, Mr. Adino, we could have probably reconciled and balanced that, and at least gone another year without going into deficit spending. But we are not, our trajectory is not there right now. So in fiscal year 25 in December, we had 16 million in cash reserves, and now we're at 13.7 million in cash reserves. So you can see it's going to get a little bit higher over the course of the year, but the trend is we're eating into our cash reserves, making us levy eminent. And we all know that's because of
House Bill 920.
Thank you. I love it. Okay, go ahead. Yep. So revenues are tracking pretty close to projections outside of the, once we made the adjustment for the rollback. The expenditures are pretty aligned with what we anticipated. We're in that deficit spending, largely due to the rollback in House Bill 920. And we're still not quite what it was a year ago, but the liquidity and investment performance is still strong. We're still making money. When you're talking almost 4% on $13 million, that's material money. So that's kind of where we are, and I know that I'm in the process of putting together a lot of different scenarios that we can look at our retreat that have to do with what do we do? What do we do?
What goals are we going to set for us in this area?
Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Was that fast enough, Mr. Byers?
Yes, that was good.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to public participation. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Education will be recognized by the board president. Speakers are requested to speak from the podium, identify themselves and their topic. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have any public participation? I think our public left. One more.
That's the key. Just stay here and talk and talk and talk, and they'll be.
No public participation? No? Okay. All
Thanks
right.
for staying.
Yeah, thank you. Brought popcorn or something. Yeah, something. All right, so that brings us to the consent agenda part of the evening. First up is finance and audit.
A motion to approve items A through E listed on the finance audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer.
I'll second.
Thank you.
I just want to thank the following organizations for their donations. We've got $300 from Scafco Scaffolding and Supply Company to the Care Closet, $2,000 from Assembly Specialist Inc. to the Riverside Choir. That is a former district family. An electromagnet etching power unit M-150E valued at $1,261.97 from Monode Marketing Products. I hope I said that right. To the Lamuth Fab Lab. So thank you to those individuals and entities for providing those donations.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Mr. Adino.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Yep, next up is personnel.
I have a motion to approve the items A through E listed on the personnel consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Any questions?
Oh, ask for a second.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'll second.
There you go, and there you go.
Any questions?
No, I would like to just recognize our retiring teachers. It's a big one.
So, yeah, I think we have to actually, Mr. Schwartz.
Mr. Schwartz is
who is
retiring.
retiring. He is the longest tenured band director at Riverside High School at 31 years for the high school. So he ran regiment for 31 years, and he is stepping on, and they are definitely big shoes to fill.
Right.
White, shiny shoes
Spats
without any
covered
scuff
shoes.
marks.
So that's all I have.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mr. Adino.
Aye.
And Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
That brings us to our consent agenda for curriculum and programming.
Motion to approve the items listed A through D on the curriculum and program consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent. Can I have a motion, please? Second, excuse me.
I'll second.
Thank you. Dr. Thompson, take the roll, please. Nope.
Discussion?
Any discussion? First time.
That's okay. Oh, you good?
Now you can call roll.
Thank you. Mrs. Grassi.
Aye.
Ms. Brewster.
Aye.
Mr. Audino.
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski.
Aye.
And Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, that brings us to
There, number 13, there are no items.
no
Nothing.
items.
There's
There you
nothing.
go. All right, that brings us to Board of Education update. I just want to say I really appreciate all the conversation tonight. I know it's been a long night, but it's been wonderful. So thank you to everybody. And then I believe, Ms. Brewster, did you have something?
Yes. I wanted to just thank everyone involved. We talked about it earlier on our tour, but it's quite an undertaking and it's such a short period of time to be able to add an addition to a school. And while I was sorting through all my papers, I found the groundbreaking speech from Dr. Rotino. And I thought it was very well stated as a recap of where we started. I know what some of you may be thinking. Didn't we just build this school? In 2019, we opened the doors to 2 larger elementary schools within the district, Parkside and Riverview. These buildings were constructed to meet Ohio Facilities Construction Commission standards and were built at the largest capacity we were allowed at the time. Unfortunately, it wasn't long until this building was filled to that capacity, even though we built it larger than what the OFCC originally suggested. So here we are just 6 short years later, breaking ground on an 8-room classroom addition that will help solve our large enrollment problems, as well as make room for additional students who will eventually reside in the Riverview District due to several large-scale housing projects scaled to begin construction soon. I would like to thank the Riverside Board of Education, then Design, Architecture, Cleveland Construction, and our owners, Rep. Roger Riachi, for all their hard work on making today's groundbreaking ceremony possible. And I would also like to thank the staff and administration for their support and continued mission on making Riverside Local School District a great place to live, work, and learn. Lastly, I'd like to thank everyone in attendance for your unwavering support of the Riverside Local School District as we all strive to be one community pursuing greatness and getting better every day. So thank you for those words. You know, just so it just seemed like
I'd be remiss there, next words. So we are blessed.
But I thought it was well.
Yes, no.
It was a nice
as I said
summary.
through our communication, we are blessed to have such a great person. I cannot steal credit for speaking.
Yeah.
I don't remember writing it.
He's phenomenal.
Well, and I asked
That
you
felt
for
like
it
10
at
years
one
ago.
point because I liked what it said, and then, yeah, I just happened to come across it.
All right.
Okay.
Any other Board of Education?
Yeah, I actually have one more thing I want to say. I wanted to thank, first of all, I wanted to welcome our two newest board members. I have the pleasure of, you know, speaking or serving with you on committees, and, you know, it's a learning process to go through everything, but we work as a group, and we'll continue to, you know, make things happen in the best interest of kids. And I would also like to welcome Dr. Rattino back. And, you know, the amount of time and effort it takes to, you know, work with the administrative team to have everybody, you know, pulling in the same direction is important. And whether it's, you know, administration at the board office or building level, but there's a lot of other people, our bus drivers, our maintenance people, teachers, aides, secretarial, there's just countless people that are all working for the same goal, and that's for our students. And, you know, Dr. Thompson has sent out some very positive messaging, and he right before Christmas, you said to our newly elected board members, please know that you have our full support as you begin our service. These roles are incredibly important, deeply rewarding, and at times challenging, but you are not alone on this journey. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and I look forward to working with everyone going, you know, as we do a pretty aggressive agenda. Thank you.
Okay, any other Board of Education updates? All right, we're going to adjourn to executive session. So the Riverside Local School District Board of Education hereby recesses into an executive session for the purpose of, one, considering the appointment, employment, discipline, and compensation of public employees under Revised Code 121.22 G1, and two, conferring with an attorney for public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action under Revised Code 121.22 G3. Upon conclusion of this executive session, the board president shall gavel the board back into session at this location. All matters discussed in these executive sessions are designated to the public officials and employees as confidential pursuant to Revised Code 102.03B because of the status of the proceedings and/or circumstances under which the information will be received, and preserving its confidentiality is necessary to the proper conduct of government business. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you.
I didn't
Mr.
catch
Byers?
who.
Sure.
Oh,
Me.
Adina?
Yeah.
Mr. Adino?
Everybody at the table.
I think everyone said, but, all right. Can you please call the roll?
Ms. Brewster?
Aye.
Mrs. Krasinski?
Aye.
Mrs. Grassi?
Aye.
Mr. Adino?
Aye.
And Mr. Byers?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Wonderful. Thank you for everyone who stayed around.